Okay, so looks like broadcast is live. I'm fairly certain. Just double check on my end. You wanna do a sound check for me? Just to make sure on your phone.
Yeah.
I assume that it's working. It's making a little bar on the side. So anyway, as you can see, I've got a page up. Gonna start cleaning it up, getting it ready. It's got a new character on it that I bet you'll all be super excited to find out about. And it's gonna be great. This chapter's so great. Okay, I'm gonna get going on my cleaning. Probably won't do a whole lot of talking. Taylor is going to read some Japanese fairy tales. That's just
Hopefully.
Hopefully is. Is it not loading? Like, wow, where'd my coffee go? Okay. Oh no, I hear my voice. Okay, so that's got to be working then. Oh yeah, I see it's popped up. Okay. Ugh. So
Okay, audio works.
Audio works. Awesome. Book works.
No, yeah.
We got a book that's not working. Okay. All right.
Well,
I didn't really think about anything to talk about in case book didn't work while you were finagling it, but
no, book can work. I just need to send it to my other phone.
Oh, okay. Well, while Taylor does the getting that together, I'll just, I guess, start talking about how I usually go about making my pages ready. So this is a page where nothing's happened to it. You can see it's still got like the scan bed lines over there and down at the bottom. So usually I make this in black grayscale mode, which I don't actually know if that's the best practice to do. I think probably, I've watched things by other people that work in black and white where they keep it in CMYK or RGB and they just put the saturation down really low. And I don't know, on the one hand, it gets rid of your colored data, so that's not necessarily always a good thing, but it makes your file a lot bigger if you keep that information.
Yeah, generally in professional comic making, you want to strip that away and make it grayscale.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that I'm being super professional. Yeah, okay, so just gotta crop that down, make sure there's no... I hate it when my Photoshop does this. I don't ever want it to constrain proportions on cropping, but it always, like every now and then, just kind of decides that that's what it wants to do. It's not what I want it to do. Never what I want it to do. Well, maybe sometimes I might want it to do that. I don't know. Oh, it's hair. It's okay. We'll take care of that hair. There won't be no problem. And after that's cropped. I have a set width that I make everything at. Not a set height though, because for whatever reason, my paper is never exact size. So you'd think they'd cut it all this, I don't know. Cutting in production is not always a precise science, but it's okay. All right, and then get some levels going here. Just make those weights real weight. Make those flies a little bit clever. And there's praise. Yeah. That's right. That's done. Now I'm going to start doing my cleanup. And my cleanup involves mainly using the dodge and burn tool a lot. Sometimes the white brush, but the nice thing about the dodge tool is that if you set the range to just highlights, then it won't cover up your blacks. Like it'll just make whites be whiter. It's like this. You can just clean up my pencil lines that are all over the place. Mainly, I'll probably go back in with the light brush and take care of the little spots that you see there. Sometimes I can just do it with that too, but not always. I don't always like technologies. And sometimes you'll see me just kind of cleaning in an area that doesn't necessarily need anything to be cleaned, and that's because my screen is super dirty. And I can't tell if it's a hair on my screen or on the page.
Actually, cleaned your screen.
You screened my clean?
Yep.
Yeah?
The other day.
Oh, thank you.
Then I think I literally smudged it this morning.
Ah, you ass. You butthole. That's okay.
I am ready to go.
Yay, reading. No more of me talking. Good. Go.
It's informative and good and connect with your audience.
Why is your head like that? Did I clip off the top of this page? Did I scan bad? Oh, god damn it. Okay.
Can you use this page for now?
No, it's not. It's not a bad scan. It's the it's a bad cropping because of constraining proportions. So I gotta start over again. Okay, you go ahead and read.
Okay.
I'll just redo all that work I just did.
Oh no.
Oh, what have you done?
Nothing.
Yes, you did. You
Oh.
you properly ejected my external butthole. Ugh.
I'm sorry. Oh no.
Okay, it's fine.
Moving
Don't
on
worry.
everything.
All right.
Do we want the preface?
Yeah, sure. Here's some preface.
Okay. This collection of Japanese fairy tales is the outcome of a suggestion made to me, not me,
By the editor. Okay.
about Theodore Ozaki.
Okay. Yay. I always say that.
Y-E-I.
Okay.
I do not know Japanese, and it is very likely that I will brutally mispronounce every name that I encounter, and I apologize for that. Alright, this is Japanese Fairy Tales by Theodore Ozaki, published 1908, from Project Gutenberg.
Yay.
Okay, we gotta Sebastian.
Hey, Pam.
Do we want to hear about her?
Who?
The translator?
How long is it? Is it long?
3.5.
I guess. I don't know. I'm just here doing this thing. You do your thing.
Theodore Ozaki was an early 20th century translator of Japanese short stories and fairy tales. Her translations were fairly liberal, but have been popular, and were reprinted several times after her death. According to a biographical sketch by Mrs. Hugh Fraser, included in the introductory material to Warriors of Old Japan and other stories, Ozaki came from an unusual background. She was the daughter of Baron Ozaki, one of the first Japanese men to study in the West, and Bathia Catherine Morrison, and daughter of William Morrison, one of their teachers. Her parents separated after 5 years of marriage, and her mother retained custody of their 3 daughters until they became teenagers. At that time, Yae was sent to live in Japan with her father, which she enjoyed. Later, she refused an arranged marriage, left her father's house, and became a teacher and secretary to earn money.
Ain't gonna get married.
Over the years, she traveled back and forth between Japan and Europe, as her employment and family duties took her, and lived in places as diverse as Italy and the drafty upper floor of a Buddhist temple.
Okay.
All this time, her letters were frequently misdelivered to the unrelated Japanese politician Yukio Ozaki.
What?
And his to her.
Did they fall in love? Is that
in 1904? They finally met.
Oh my god!
Married.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it.
All right, we start this with a fairy tale about the author.
I love it. Okay, it's great. Perfect.
All right, this is dedicated to Eleanor Marion Crawford.
Oh, can you get my coffee? It's so far away.
Oh,
but there's a pan. No.
It's okay.
Okay, he's not. He will come back. Cat always comes back.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yep. There you go. I'm going to try to not kick your external again.
Please don't. Please don't. I don't think anything's ever corrupted. The cord is so faulty. Like, I should probably just tape it to the stupid external, but I don't know. Nothing bad has happened yet. That's not really a reason to not prevent anything bad from happening. But
because corrupt external hard drives are depressing.
I use all this work that I do.
I dedicate this book to you and to the sweet child friendship that you gave me in the days spent with you by the Southern Sea We used to listen with unfeigned pleasure to these fairy stories from far Japan. May they now remind you of my changeless love and remembrance. YTO, Tokyo, 1908. This collection of Japanese fairy tales is the outcome of a suggestion made to me indirectly through a friend by Mr. Andrew Lang. They have been translated from the modern version, written by Sadanami Sanjin. These stories are not literal translations, and though the Japanese story and all quaint Japanese expressions have been faithfully preserved, they have been told more through with the view to interest young readers of the West than the technical student of folklore. Young readers of the West, mind you, in
the 1800s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grateful acknowledgement is due to Mr. Y. Yasioka, Miss Fusa Okamoto, my brother Nobuyu Ozaki, Dr. Yoshihiro Takaki, and Miss Kamiko Yamato, who have helped me with translations.
I like these names.
I already apologize for saying names wrong, so there you go. The story, which I have named The Story of the Man Who Did Not Wish to Die, is taken from a little book written 100 years ago, so 200 years ago, by one Shinsi Tamanaga. It is named Chosei Furo, or Longevity. The Bamboo Cutter and the Moon Child is taken from the classic Takatari Monogatari and is not classed by the Japanese among their fairy tales, though it really belongs to this class of literature.
All right.
It's pretty much a fairy tale,
but
nobody thinks it's a fairy tale.
But it pretty much is.
But it pretty much is.
Yeah, okay.
The pictures, which you will not be able to see, audience of this live stream.
Or probably me. I mean, I guess you can show. Be focused on the screen. Yeah.
The pictures were drawn by Mr. Kikuzo Fujiyama, a Tokyo artist. In telling these stories in English, I have followed my fancy in adding such touches of local color or description as they seem to need or as pleased me, and in one or two instances I have gathered an incident from another version. At all times, among my friends, both young and old, English or American, I have always found eager listeners to the beautiful legends and fairy tales of Japan, and in telling them I have also found that they were still unknown to the vast majority, and this has encouraged me to write them to the children of the West. Tokyo, 1908. Right.
Okay.
My Lord Bag of Rice. Long, long ago there lived in Japan a brave warrior known to all as Tawara Totem, or My Lord Bag of Rice. His true name was Fujiwara Hidesada, and there is a very interesting story of how he came to change his name. I should hope so. One day he sallied forth in search of adventures, for he had the nature of a warrior and could not bear to be idle. So he buckled on his two swords, took his huge bow, much taller than himself, in his hand, and slinging his quiver on his back, started out. He had not gone far when he came to the bridge of Setonokarashi, spanning one end of the beautiful lake Biwa. No sooner had he set foot on the bridge than he saw lying right across his path a huge serpent dragon. Its body was so big that it looked like the trunk of a large pine tree, and it took up the whole width of the bridge. One of its huge claws rested on the parapet on one side of the bridge, while its tail lay right against the other. The monster seemed to be asleep, and as it breathed, fire and smoke came out of its nostrils. At first Hidesada could not help feeling alarmed at the sight of this horrible reptile laying in his path, for he must either turn back or walk right over its body. He was a brave man, however, and putting aside all fear, went forward dauntlessly. Crunch, crunch! He stepped now on the dragon's body, between its coils, and without even one glance backward, he went on his way. He had only gone a few steps when he heard someone calling from behind. On turning back, he was much surprised to see that the monster dragon had entirely disappeared, and in his place was a strange-looking man, who was bowing most ceremoniously to the ground.
Thank you for stepping on me.
His red hair streamed over his shoulders, and was surmounted by a crown in the shape of a dragon's head, and his sea-green dress was patterned with shells. Hidesada knew at once that this was no ordinary mortal, and he wondered much at the strange occurrence. Where had the dragon gone in such a short space of time? Or had it transformed itself into this man? And what did the whole thing mean? While these thoughts passed through his mind, he had come up to the man on the bridge and now addressed him. "What is it that you called me just now?" "Oh, was it you that called me just now?" That makes more sense. Yes,
What
it
did
was
you call
I,
me?
answered the man.
I said hello.
I have an earnest request to make to you. You think you can grant it to me? If it is in my power to do so, I will, answered Hitasato. But first, tell me who you are. I am the Dragon King of the lake, and my home is in these waters, just under this bridge. What is it you have to ask of me?
Please don't step on me again.
Asked Hitasato. I want you to kill my mortal enemy, the centipede, who lives on the mountain beyond. And the Dragon King pointed to a high peak on the opposite shore of the lake. I have lived now for many years in this lake. I have a large family of children and grandchildren.
I don't like centipedes.
For some time past, we have lived in terror, for a monster centipede has discovered our home, and night after night it comes and carries off one of my family. I am powerless to save them. If it goes on much longer like this, not only shall I lose all my children, but I myself must fall victim to the monster. I am therefore very unhappy. And in my extremity, I determined to ask the help of a human being.
I'm very upset about this.
Yeah. For many days with this intention, I have waited on the bridge in the shape of the horrible serpent dragon that you saw, in the hope that some strong, brave man would come along. But all who came this way, as soon as they saw me, were terrified, and ran away as fast as they could. You were the first man I have found, able to look at me without fear, so I knew at once that you were a man of great courage. I beg you to have pity upon me. Will you not help me and kill my enemy, the centipede? Hitasato felt very sorry for the Dragon King on hearing his story, and readily promised to do what he could to help him. The warrior asked us where the centipede lived, so that he might attack the creature at once. The Dragon King replied that his home was on the mountain.
Just let me go
Mikami.
beat him up. Let me just go ruin his day. You seem trustworthy. Yeah, pretty much. Dragons.
You can turn into a dragon.
It's chill. Okay.
The Dragon King replied that his home was on the mountain Mikami, but that, as it came every night at a certain hour to the palace of the lake, it would be better to wait until then. So Hitasato was conducted to the palace of the Dragon King under the bridge. Strange to say, as he followed his host downwards, the waters parted to let them pass, and his clothes did not even feel damp as he passed through the flood. Never had Hitasato seen anything so beautiful as his palace, built of white marble beneath the lake. He had often heard of the Sea King's palace at the bottom of the sea, where all the servants and retainers were saltwater fishes. But here was a magnificent building in the heart of Lake Biwa. The dainty goldfishes, red carp, and silvery trout waited upon the Dragon King and his guests. Hitasato was astonished at the feast that was spread for him. The dishes were crystallized lotus leaves and flowers, and the chopsticks were the rarest ebony. As soon as they sat down, the sliding doors opened, and 10 lovely goldfish dancers came out. And behind them followed 10 red carp musicians, with the koto and the samisen. Do you think they're just like fishes?
Or
and they're just doing this
people
fish styles? Or are they like anthrofish?
I don't know. I don't know.
I guess that's
Well,
up to the
that's up to the artist of whoever illustrates this.
yeah, fishes are in the eye of the beholder. Thus the hours flew by till midnight, and the beautiful music and dancing had banished all thoughts of the centipede. The Dragon King was about to pledge the warrior in a fresh cup of wine, and the palace was suddenly shaken by a tramp, tramp, as if a mighty army had begun to march not far away. Hitasato and his host both rose to their feet and rushed to the balcony, and the warrior saw on the opposite mountain 2 great balls of glowing fire coming nearer and nearer. The Dragon King stood by the warrior's side, trembling with fear. The centipede! The centipede! I kind of give him a commanding voice for a admittedly fairly scaredy person.
Yeah, he's a dragon, but whatever.
Those 2 balls of fire are its eyes. It is coming for its prey. Now is the time to kill it. Hitasato looked where his host pointed, and in the dim light of the starlit evening, behind the 2 balls of fire, he saw the long body of an enormous centipede, winding round the mountains, and the light in its 100 feet glowed like so many distant lanterns moving slowly towards the shore. Do you think it's not a centipede?
I don't know.
Like, are they sound wondering this?
Maybe.
Hitasato showed not the least sign of fear. He tried to calm the Dragon King. Don't be afraid. I shall surely kill the centipede. Just bring me my bow and arrows. The Dragon King did as he was bid, and the warrior noticed that he only had 3 arrows left in his quiver. He took the bow, and fitting the arrow to the notch, took careful aim and let fly. The arrow hit the centipede right in the middle of its head, but instead of penetrating, it glanced off harmless and fell to the ground. Nothing daunted, Hidesato took another arrow, fitted it to the notch of the bow, and let fly. Again the arrow hit the mark. It struck the centipede right in the middle of its head, only to glance off and fall to the ground. The centipede was invulnerable to weapons. When the Dragon King saw that even this brave warrior's arrows were powerless to kill the centipede, he lost heart and began to tremble with fear. The warrior saw that he only now had one arrow left in his quiver, and if this one failed, he could not kill the centipede. He looked across the waters. The huge reptile had wound its...
Reptile? Is that centipedes are reptiles? Okay.
No, the Dragon King. He
Oh,
was
the
a dragon.
Dragon King. Okay. I thought you were talking about you looked across the water at the centipede and it was a reptile.
Now he looked across the water. The huge reptile had wound its horrid body 7 times around the mountain. It would soon...
This is centipede.
Yeah,
see?
no, he is calling the centipede a reptile.
That's weird.
It's just pretty much all animals. There's mammals and there's reptiles and there's fishes.
Okay.
Those are the 3 kingdoms. Boop, boop, boop. Nearer and nearer gleamed fireballs of eyes, and the light of its 100 feet began to throw reflections in the still waters of the lake. Then suddenly the warrior remembered that he had heard that human saliva was deadly to centipedes.
What? Is that real?
But this was no ordinary centipede. This was so monstrous that even to think of such a creature made one creep with horror. Hidesato determined to try his last chance, so taking his last arrow, and first putting the end of it in his mouth, he fitted the notch to his bow, took careful aim once more, and let fly.
Lord check centipedes.
Yeah, pretty much. This time the centipede lies. This time the arrow again hit the centipede right in the middle of its head, but instead of glancing off harmlessly as before, it struck home to the creature's brain.
Oh no.
Then with a convulsive shudder, the serpentine body stopped moving, and the fiery light of its great eyes 100 feet darkened to a dull glare, like the sunset of a stormy day, and then went out in blackness. A great darkness now overspread the heavens. The thunder rolled and lightning flashed, and the wind roared in fury, and it seemed as if the world were coming to an end. The Dragon King and his children and retainers all crouched in different parts of the palace, frightened to death, for the building was shaken to its foundation. At last the dreadful night was over. Day dawned beautiful and clear. The centipede was gone from the mountain. Then Hidesato called to the Dragon King to come out with him on the balcony, for the centipede was dead, and he had nothing more to fear. Then all the inhabitants of the palace came out with joy, and Hidesato pointed out to the lake. There lay the body of the dead centipede, floating on the water, which was dyed red with blood.
Oh.
The gratitude of the Dragon King knew no bounds. The whole family came and bowed down before the warrior, calling him their preserver, and the bravest warrior in all Japan. Another feast was prepared, more sumptuous than the first. All kinds of fish, prepared in every imaginable way. Raw, stewed, boiled,
So
and roasted.
do you think
served
they're...
on coral trays and crystal dishes were put before him, and the wine was the best that Hidesato had ever tasted in his life. Yeah, were they served by the servant fishes?
Yeah.
Goldfish dancers serving up
Other goldfish?
for eats.
Okay.
Troubling.
Alright. It's a fairy tale, whatever.
To add to the beauty of everything, the sun shone brightly. The lake glittered like a liquid diamond, and the palace was 1,000 times more beautiful by day than by night.
So here I've switched to the burn tool, and now I'm just burning all the darks a little bit blacker because my black's and stuff are some darker. I swear. Keep going. Didn't want people to be confused about what I was doing. Suddenly just running my mouse all over everything for no reason. I'm just scribbling and nothing's happening. It's kind of different. Okay.
His host tried to persuade the warrior to stay a few days. Hidesato insisted on going home, saying that he had now finished what he had come to do, and must return. The Dragon King and his family were all very sorry to have him leave so soon, but since he would go, they begged him to accept a few small presents, so they said, in token of their gratitude to him for delivering them forever from their horrible enemy, the centipede.
Forever.
As the warrior stood in the porch, taking leave, a train of fish was suddenly transformed into a retinue of men, all wearing ceremonial robes and dragon's crowns on their heads to show that they were servants of the great Dragon King. The presents that they carried were as follows. First, a large bronze bell. Second, a bag of rice. Third, a roll of silk. Fourth, a cooking pot. 5th, a bell.
That's
Hidesato did not want to accept all these presents, but as the Dragon King insisted, he could not well refuse. The Dragon King himself accompanied the warrior as far as the bridge, and then took leave of him with many bows and good wishes. Bows.
many bows, not bows.
I don't know. It was like, you ran out of arrows, here's a couple extra bows.
That's helpful. Okay.
Leaving the procession of servants to accompany Hidesato to his house with the presents. Oh, that's nice, though.
Yeah,
So he's not just like, carry this giant...
Here, I gave you lots of treasure, but now you have to carry it all home yourself. Phone doing many emails.
My brother.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Oh, that's good. Oh, hey, so people listening, Taylor had an interview thing for his game that he did, Spell. You might know it. Maybe you don't. I have no idea. It's neat. Go look it up. Just Whimsy Machine. The website's not great because I need to update it with new design junk, but on Gumroad you could download it.
Gumroad.com/spell.
Spell.
Or gum.co/spell.
Oh my gosh. So many.
Yeah, you can shorten URLs is where it's at.
Yeah, but it's a thing that he did, and it was a Kickstarter that didn't succeed, but we're trying again, and it's gonna be awesome. So yeah, if you like role-playing games and making magic with letter tiles, that's what that game is. Go look at it.
Thank you for the plug.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The warrior's household and servants had been very much concerned when they found that he did not return the night before, but they finally concluded that he had been kept by the violent storm and had taken shelter somewhere.
Ah, he's probably fine.
Wait, did they figure that he was going to go out adventure just like for the day and come back?
That's how you do. I don't know. It's olden times.
Yeah.
It's probably normal.
I'm just going to use the adventures like, I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks.
See you later.
Go what direction this arrow lands.
Yeah, we got people that go what direction this arrow lands.
When the servants on the watch for his return caught sight of him, they called to everyone that he was approaching, and the whole household turned out to meet him, wondering much what the retinue of men bearing presents and banners that followed him could mean.
Ah, damn, he got up to some nonsense.
Did he find an army? Correction,
only rich people.
As soon as the Dragon King's retainers had put down the presents, they vanished, and Hidesato told all that had happened to him. The presents which he had received from the grateful Dragon King were found to be of magic power.
Ooh.
The bell only was ordinary, and Hidesato had no use for it.
Wow.
And as Hidesato had no use for it, he presented it to the temple nearby, where it was hung up to boom out the hour of day over the surrounding neighborhood.
Well, this is not magic. I don't really have any good use for it. Let's just give it to the monks.
This is a cool giant bell.
You guys can have it.
It's not magic, it's just real big. The single bag of rice, however, was much... that's not how that word goes. The single bag of rice, however much was taken from it day after day for the meals of the night, and his whole family, never grew less. The supply in the bag was inexhaustible. The roll of silk, too, never grew shorter, though time after time long pieces were cut off to make the warrior a new suit of clothes to go to court in after the new year. The cooking pot was wonderful, too. No matter what was put into it, it cooked deliciously whatever was wanted without any firing. Truly, a very economical saucepan.
So great.
The fame of Hidesato's fortune spread far and wide, and as there was no need for him to spend money on rice or silk or firing, he became very rich and prosperous, was henceforth known as My Lord Bag of Rice. Wait, what did the other bell do? He was given 2 bells.
Was he? Maybe it is. Maybe it's for another story? I don't know.
Coffee break.
Coffee break. Also, as you can see, I started on page 13 and I'm going to work my way back to page 6. This is because...
Reasons.
Well, Photoshop doesn't, when I open it, it goes to the last page I opened, and also I guess I just don't necessarily want to completely give away the spoilers. I mean, there's spoilers. I don't know if I'm going to let her. I think I'm going to let her. Is that weird if I let her and then people just read it ahead of time? Will that be upsetting? Is that upsetting to anybody? I don't know. It's probably nobody cares. Probably nobody's here to care. That's okay, though. I'm sure maybe some people will watch it later once it's no longer spoilers and then it's just regular things. Oh,
Never your phone.
that was my phone. Ooh, it's probably Moe. It's probably Moe. It is Moe. Mara finished working. I don't need to do that right now, though. Did I just changed image? Yes, I did. Good job.
I'm making a break to respond.
Okay. Well, Taylor's taking a break to respond to his brother. I guess something I can tell you about this page where it looks like Michael is just kind of looking at a blank window. I don't really know what it's supposed to be a painting. There's a painting that's going to get dropped in there. I just haven't need to color it. Oh, it's the white. Yep. So when you finally, I might color the painting today. Okay, so I cleaned my desk, which is usually a feat because my desk gets really dirty because I have a habit of just stacking everything in one place. But I couldn't find my watercolors when I did. I still don't know where they are. They might be in one of my bags. I might have tried to take them a place to do watercoloring on the go and forgot what bag they're in. But so I'm going to have to digitally paint the cover for this chapter, which is why that's not done, even though this chapter is starting like not next week, the week after. There's, yeah, one more week of updates, and then it's the new one. But yeah, no, just problems, art problems. It's the worst. So I could avoid this if I could have tracked that stuff. So I guess I'm the worst. Whoa. Yeah. That Michael feels all clean. Michael's got. Oh, as you can tell, this is not normal costuming. This dude, it's. I hope you can tell that's Tristan. She's being excited to be at a party with this guy. This guy's name's Romeo. He's pretty cool. You'll find out about him later. I want to do a little picture of him for color reference because black and white comics don't let you really know what people completely look like.
Yeah, update the cast page.
God, no.
Tabitha one too.
Okay, so I was thinking about updating the cast page, and the thing about that is that I don't
want to.
Not that I don't want to. I just don't want to have to draw titles for people. I think I might just redo the people that are already on there with pictures from like panels. So I think that would be easier to maintain, like update. I mean, they'll be black and white.
Well, maybe they should be color so people know what color the characters are.
I don't want to have to. I'm lazy. I'm so lazy. So lazy. I have a lot of stuff to do. I mean, I guess if I make a new thing, then that means I have to maintain that thing, and that gets hard really quick. Not that I guess there's all that many characters that get added. Like important ones, like there's a lot of little characters, but
yeah, like
also those tiles are really big. Like picking a panel was also supposed to be so I could do just like a little headshot instead of a half body.
Draw them. Like you can just do headshots instead of busts.
That's hard. Whenever I've got that's hard for a different reason. That's hard because whenever I set out to do something little, I always do more than I need to, and then I'm like, oh well, I drew all this. I can't just crop it. That'd be a waste. You know, it would be probably not as much of a waste as my brain thinks it would be, but just post it somewhere else, the full version. I don't know. I'm too much of an overachieving underachiever or something. I can't commit to doing things halfway. I've got to do it all the way or not at all.
All right. Next fairy tale.
Yeah, next fairy tale. I liked that one. I don't know. I was like, wait, I don't know. These are old stories. I shouldn't expect there to be a lot of complexity in the villains to not be villains and Should not feel bad for the centipede just getting murdered, but okay.
Yeah. The centipede was evil. He beat it.
He was.
Yeah, like I was kind of thinking that.
I was thinking like the dragon was playing him.
Yeah.
Because dragons are cunning and like, I mean, it's a dragon. Why can't it deal with a centipede? They're just bugs.
Well, he was just a dude. He was a dragon king, and like he turned into a dragon for the specific purpose of looking like a big dragon.
He's just
but like his default was just dude form.
They just let him wear emperor clothes.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
New emperor clothes?
He's not naked. Whatever.
I think I was kind of expecting his ability to overcome. I guess the thing was like he shot 2 arrows and neither of them worked.
Yeah.
And the dragon was like, "Well, we've lost." And then he was like, "No, I came up with a way." But like I was thinking that the way would be like shooting him in the eye or like making a thing fall on him or something like that.
It's a good way. That's
a good way.
You passed your cult check. It's fine.
Yep. That's pretty much what that is. You wisdom check and you win.
Wisdom check and you win. That's
the tongue-cut sparrow. Long, long ago in Japan, there lived an old man and his wife. The old man was a good, kind-hearted, hard-working old fellow, but his wife was a regular crosspatch, who spoiled the happiness of her home by her scolding tongue.
Oh no!
A regular crosspatch.
What does that even mean? A crosspatch?
Yeah. She was always grumbling about something from morning to night. The old man had for her a long time ceased to take any notice of her crossness. He was out most of the day at work in the fields, and as he had no child for his amusement when he came home, he kept a tame sparrow.
Children,
well, you don't get kids to play with and distract you from your
horrible wife.
Yeah. He loved the little bird just as much as she had been his child.
Murder the bird, or maybe the bird will turn into a lady, like a baby bird. Okay, anyway, I would be quiet. You just read the story.
Be his crane wife.
Be his
sparrow wife.
No, it's his baby. Don't make it weird.
When he came back at night after his hard day's work in the open air, it was his only pleasure to pet the sparrow, to talk to her and teach her little tricks, which she learned very quickly. The old man would open her cage and let her fly about the room, and they would play together. Then, when supper time came, he always saved some tidbits from his meal with which to feed his little bird.
I bet his wife hates that. I bet she murders the bird.
Now, one day, the old man went out to chop wood in the forest, and the old woman stopped at home to wash clothes. The day before, she had made some starch, and now, when she came to look for it, it was all gone. The bowl which she had filled full yesterday was quite empty. While she was wondering who could have used or stolen the starch, down flew the pet sparrow, and bowing her little feathered head, a trick which she had been taught by her master, the pretty bird chirped and said, "It is I who have taken the starch. I thought it was some food put out for me in that basin, and I ate it all.
Whoa.
If I had made a mistake, I beg you to forgive me. Tweet, tweet, tweet."
Talking bird.
You see from this that the sparrow was a truthful bird, and the old woman ought to have been willing to forgive her at once when she asked her pardon so nicely. But not so. The old woman had never loved the sparrow and had often quarreled with her husband for keeping what she called a dirty bird in the house.
Dirty bird!
Saying that it only made extra work for her. Now she was only too delighted to have some cause of complaint against the pet. She scolded and even cursed the poor little bird for her bad behavior. Not content with using these harsh, unfeeling words, in a fit of rage she seized the sparrow, who all this time had spread out her wings and bowed her head before the old woman to show how sorry she was, and fetched the scissors to cut off the poor little bird's tongue.
Whoa.
"I suppose you took my starch with that tongue? Now you may see what it is like to go without it." And with these dreadful words she drove the bird away, not caring in the least what might happen to it, and without the smallest pity for its suffering. So unkind was she. The old woman, after she had driven the sparrow away, made some more rice paste, grumbling all the time at trouble, and after starching all her clothes, spread the things on boards to dry in the sun, instead of ironing them, as they do in England.
That's how, this is cultural differences, kids.
In the evening, the old man came home. As usual, on the way back, he looked forward to the time when he should reach his gate and see his pet come flying and chirping to meet him, ruffling out her feathers to show her joy, and at last coming to the rest on his shoulder. But tonight the old man was very disappointed, for not even the shadow of his dear sparrow was to be seen. He quickened his steps, hastily drew off his straw sandals, and stepped on to the veranda. Still no sparrow was to be seen. He now felt sure that his wife, in one of her cross tempers, had shut the sparrow up in its cage. So he called her and said anxiously, "Where is Suzume-san, Miss Sparrow, today?"
Suzume, that's a cute name. I think that's from something I've watched recently.
The old woman pretended not to know at first, and answered, "Your sparrow? I'm sure I don't know. Now come to think of it, I haven't seen her all afternoon. I shouldn't wonder if the ungrateful bird had flown away and left you after all your petting." But at last, the old man gave her no peace, but asked her again and again, insisting that she must know what had happened to his pet. She confessed all. She told him crossly how the sparrow had eaten the rice paste and had she had specially made for starching her clothes, and how when the sparrow had confessed to what she had done, in great anger she had taken her scissors and cut out her tongue, and how finally she had driven the bird away and forbidden her to return to the house again. Then the old woman showed her husband the sparrow's tongue, saying, "Here's the tongue I cut off. Horrid little bird! Why did it eat all my starch? How could you be so cruel? Oh, how could you be so cruel?" was all that the old man could answer. He was too kind-hearted to punish his shrew of a wife, but he was terribly distressed at what had happened to his poor little sparrow. "What a dreadful misfortune for my poor Suzume-san to lose her tongue," he said to himself. "She won't be able to chirp any more, and surely the pain of the cutting it out in that rough way must have made her ill. Is there nothing to be done?" The old man shed many tears after his cross wife had gone to sleep. While he wiped away the tears from his sleeve of his cotton robe, a bright thought comforted him. He would go and look for the sparrow on the morrow. Having decided this, he was able to go to sleep at last.
On the morrow.
The morrow is my bird.
The morrow is my bird.
The next morning he rose early, as soon as ever the day broke, and snatching a hasty breakfast, started out over the hills and through the woods, stopping at every clump of bamboos to cry,
Oh no.
"Where, oh where does my
Where is
tongue-cut sparrow stay? Where, oh where does my tongue-cut sparrow stay?" Oh, he's crying those words out. He's not just stopping.
He's
and
not
having
just like,
himself a
oh,
weep. Yeah. Which, no shame.
I mean, yeah, you might, yeah, this sparrow's gone.
He never stopped to rest for his noonday meal, and it was far on in the afternoon when he found himself near a large bamboo wood. Bamboo groves are the favorite haunts of sparrows, and there, sure enough, at the edge of the wood, he saw his own dear sparrow waiting to welcome him. He could hardly believe his eyes for joy, and ran forward quickly to greet her. She bowed her little head, and went through a number of the tricks her master had taught her, to show her pleasure at seeing her old friend again. And, wonderful to relate, she could talk, as of old. The old man, did he die?
But I don't know.
Okay.
Do you?
The old man told her how sorry he was for all that had happened, and inquired after her tongue, wondering how she could speak so well without it. Then the sparrow opened her beak and showed him that a new tongue had grown in place of the old one,
weird.
and begged him not to think any more about the past, for she was quite well now. And then the old man knew that his sparrow was a fairy.
Demon. Okay.
That's a fairy.
Fairy.
It's a good one.
All right,
Yeah.
it's a good demon.
And no common bird. I was worried that the bird was dead and he wandered off into the woods and he is now also dead and they live forever in the bamboo afterlife.
Yeah, it's not a Grimm's fairy tale. Maybe these Japanese fairy tales are a little bit nicer. I don't know.
It would be difficult to exaggerate the old man's rejoicing now. He forgot all his troubles. He forgot even how tired he was, for he had found his lost sparrow, and instead of being ill and without a tongue as he had feared and expected to find her, she was well and happy and with a new tongue, and without a sign of the ill treatment she had received from his wife. And above all, she was a fairy.
She was a fairy.
The sparrow asked him to follow her, and flying before him, she led him to a beautiful house in the heart of the bamboo grove. The old man was utterly astonished when he entered the house to find what a beautiful place it was. It was built of the whitest wood. The soft cream-colored mats which took the place of carpets were the finest he had ever seen, and the cushions that the sparrow brought out for him to sit on were made of the finest silk and crepe. Beautiful vases and lacquer boxes adorned the tokonoma of every room. Now there's a footnote for what tokonoma is. And there's a little number that says there will be a footnote.
Oh,
But there is no footnote.
oh, so we don't get to know what that is. Do you know what that is? I don't think I know what that is. Yes, we do look. What is it? Come on. That it's something cozy. I don't remember what time. I just completely forgot what that word was even used as in a sentence.
Okay, Google. Tokonoma.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's just like a little alcove to put some nice decorative stuff in.
Yeah. The sparrow led the old man to the place of honor, and then, taking her place at a humble distance, she thanked him with many polite bows for all the kindness he had shown her for many long years. Then the lady sparrow, as we will now call her, introduced all her family to the old man. This done, her daughters, robed in dainty crepe gowns, brought in on beautiful old-fashioned trays a feast of all kinds of delicious foods, till the old man began to think he must be dreaming. In the middle of the dinner, some of the sparrow's daughters performed a wonderful dance, called the Suzume Odori, or the sparrow's dance, to amuse the guests. This is another one of those questions. Are they birds or are they people? Are they bird people?
I know, like, is it tiny little bird? Because they keep saying crepe. I don't know if it's like crepe paper or if crepe is a type of fabric as well. It's just
I
very
believe so,
thin.
because once there was
Like crepe
a man
paper?
from the Cape who made himself garments of crepe.
Okay.
So,
That's not.
something
I don't
something,
accept that as an answer, but okay.
yeah, because it's spelled differently than, like, it's not the food crepe.
Yeah. I understand.
Open with SERP. Why is it called SERP?
As you can see here, I now have to completely dodge out this dodge. Am I burning? I'm dodging, yes, that's the right one. Dodge out this area because I'm a dummy and painted it when it should have been white.
Oh, because he's wearing a vest.
Because he's wearing a vest, not a jacket. And I can totally remember what I'm dressing my characters in.
Crepe can be confused with crepe, crepe, and crap.
You're a crap.
It's a lightweight.
I'm sorry.
A lightweight
I
fabric
admit
of
it.
silk, cotton, or other fiber with a finely crinkled or rigid surface. A usually black band or piece of this material worn as a token of mourning. A thin, light, delicate pancake.
Pancake!
Paper. Crepe rubber.
Thin, light, delicate pancake. I'm gonna fix some shadows. Fix some shadows. Oh shit.
Never had the old man enjoyed himself so much. The hours flew by too quickly in this lovely spot, with all these fairy sparrows to wait upon him, and to feast him and dance before him. The night came on, and the darkness reminded him that he had a long way to go, and must think about taking his leave and return home. He thanked his kind hostess for her splendid entertainment, and begged her, for his sake, to forget all she had suffered at the hands of his cross old wife. He told the Lady Sparrow that it was a great comfort and happiness to him to find her in such a beautiful home, and to know that she wanted for nothing. It was his anxiety to know how she fared, and what had really happened to her, that led him to seek her. Now he knew that all was well, and he could return home with a light heart. If she ever wanted him for anything, she only had to send for him, and he would come at once. The Lady Sparrow begged him to stay and rest several days and enjoy the change, but the old man said he must return to his old wife. who would probably be cross at his not coming home at the usual time and to his work, and therefore, much as he wished to do so, he could not accept her kind invitation. But now that he knew where the Lady Sparrow lived, he would come to see her whenever he had the time. When the Lady Sparrow saw that she could not persuade the old man to stay longer, she gave an order to some of her servants, and they at once brought in 2 boxes, one large and the other small. These were placed before the old man. The Lady Sparrow asked him to choose whichever he liked for a present, which she wished to give him. The old man could not refuse this kind proposal, and he chose the smaller box, saying, "I am now too old and feeble to carry the big heavy box. As you are so kind as to say that I may take whichever I like, I will choose the small one, which will be easier for me to carry." Then the sparrows all helped him put it on his back, and went to the gate to see him off, bidding him good-bye with many bows, not bows, and entreating him to come again whenever he had the time. Thus the old man and his pet sparrow separated quite happily, and the sparrow showing not the least ill will for all the unkindness she had suffered at the hands of the old wife. Indeed, she only felt sorrow for the old man, who had put up with it all his life. When the old man reached home, he found his wife ever crosser than usual, for it was late on in the night, and she had been waiting up for him for a long time. "Where have you been all this time?" she asked in a big voice. "Why do you come back so late?" The old man tried to pacify her by showing her the box of presents he had brought back with him, and when he had told her of all that had happened to him, and how wonderfully he had been entertained at the sparrow's house. Now let us see what is in the box," said the old man, not giving her time to grumble again. "You must help me open it." And they both sat down before the box and opened it. So
It was a baby. I don't know.
astonishment, yeah, it's full of babies.
It's full of babies.
The utter astonishment, they found the box filled to the brim with gold and silver coins, and many other precious things. The mats of their little cottage fairly glittered as they took out the things, and one by one put them down and handled them over and over again. The old man was overjoyed at the sight of the riches that were now his. Beyond his brightest expectations was the sparrow's gift, which would enable him to give up work and live in ease and comfort the rest of his days. He said, "Thanks to my good little sparrow, thanks to my good little sparrow," many times. But the old woman, after the first moments of surprise and satisfaction at the sight of the gold and silver were over, could not suppress the greed of her wicked nature. She now began to reproach the old man for not having brought home the big box of presents, for in the innocence of his heart he had told her how he had refused the large box of presents which the sparrows had offered him, preferring the smaller one, because it was light and easy to carry home. "You silly old man," said she, "why did you not bring the large box? Just think what we have lost. We might have had twice as much silver and gold as this. You are certainly an old fool," she screamed, and they went to bed as angry as she could be. The old man now wished that he had said nothing about the big box, but it was too late. The greedy old woman, not contented with the good luck which had so unexpectedly befallen them, and which she so little deserved, made up her mind, if possible, to get more. Early the next morning she got up, and made the old man describe the way to the sparrow's house. When he saw what was in her mind, he tried to keep her from going, but it was useless. She would not listen to one word he said. It is strange that the old woman did not feel ashamed of going to see the sparrow after the cruel way she had treated her and cutting off her tongue in a fit of rage. But her greed to get the big box made her forget everything else. It did not even enter her thoughts that the sparrows might be angry with her, as indeed they were, and might punish her for what she
As
had done.
indeed they will.
We like to call that foreshadowing
Yeah.
in the literary world. Ever since the Lady Sparrow had returned home in the sad plight in which they had first found her, weeping and bleeding from the mouth, her whole family and relations had done little else but speak of the cruelty of the old woman. How could she, they asked each other, inflict such a heavy punishment for such trifling offense as that of eating some rice paste by mistake? They all loved the old man, who was so kind and good and patient under all his troubles, but the old woman they hated, and they determined, if ever they had the chance, to punish her as she deserved. They had not long to wait. After walking for some hours, the old woman had at last found the bamboo grove, which she had made her husband carefully describe, and now she stood before it, crying out, "Where is the tongue-cut sparrow's house?
Oh,
Where
wow.
is the tongue-cut sparrow's house?" Well,
Yeah.
that's the name of the fairy tale.
That's okay. Yeah,
That's what she's called.
Zero tact. Anyway.
Where's that sparrow I done cut the tongue out of? At last, she saw the eaves of the house peeping out from amongst the bamboo foliage. She hastened to the door and knocked loudly. When the servants told the lady sparrow that her old mistress was at the door asking to see her, she was somewhat surprised at the unexpected visit, after all that had taken place, and she wondered not a little bit at the boldness of the old woman in venturing to come to the house. The lady sparrow, however, was a polite bird, and so she went out to greet the old woman, remembering that she had once been her mistress. The old woman intended, however, to waste no time in words. She went right to the point without the least shame and said,
I want the big box.
You need not trouble to entertain me as you did my old man. I had come myself to get the box which he so stupidly left behind. I shall soon take my leave if you will give me the big box. That is all I want. The lady sparrow at once consented and told her servants to bring out the big box.
It's full of rocks. You're going to fall in a river and drown.
Maybe. Let's find out. The old woman eagerly seized it and hoisted it on her back. And without even stopping to think, the lady sparrow began to hurry homewards. The box was so heavy that she could not walk fast, much less run, as she would have liked to do so. So anxious she was to get home and see what was inside the box.
You could just look, whatever.
But she had often to sit down and rest herself by the way. Well, the old man asked her to help him open that box, so maybe it's a two-person job.
Maybe.
You have to both press
When
X
you're
at the same time. But she had to often sit down and rest herself by the way. While she was staggering along under the heavy load, her desire to open the box became too great to be resisted. She could wait no longer, for she supposed this big box to be full of gold and silver and precious jewels like the small one her husband had received. At last, this greedy and selfish old woman put down the box by the wayside and opened it carefully, expecting to gloat her eyes on a mine of wealth. Oh, who spoke to she? What she saw, however, so terrified her that she nearly lost her senses. As soon as she lifted the lid, a number of horrible and frightful-looking demons bounced out of the box and surrounded her as they intended to kill her. Not even in nightmares had she ever seen such horrible creatures as her much-coveted box contained. A demon with one huge eye right in the middle of its forehead came and glared at her. Monsters with gaping mouths looked as if they would devour her. A huge snake coiled and hissed about her, and a big frog hopped and croaked towards her. That's the worst.
Frogs.
I wonder, do you think that was what was in the big box that Lady Sparrow offered to the old man? Or did she get a new big box?
I would assume it's, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe they would have, like...
It would have been something else.
Yeah.
Because it's a gift for him, and this is her, so it's... The other sparrows done booby-trapped it. I don't know.
The old woman had never been so frightened in her life, and ran from the spot as fast as her quaking legs would carry her, glad to escape alive. When she reached home, she fell to the floor and told her husband with tears all that had happened to her, and how she had been nearly killed by the demon in the box. Then she began to blame the sparrow. But the old man stopped her at once, saying, Don't blame the sparrow. It is your wickedness, which has at last met with its reward. I only hope this may be a lesson to you in the future. The old woman said nothing more, and from that day she repented of her cross, unkind ways, and by degrees became a good old woman, so that her husband hardly knew her to be the same person. And they spent their last days together happily, free from want or care, spending carefully the treasure the old man had received from his pet, the tongue-cut sparrow.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, that was...
We all learned a lesson. Your phone's been going off. You got many messages.
Yeah.
Many messages. I don't have many messages. That's okay.
Not racist.
What? Racist.
Yep.
You talk about me?
Yep.
Whoa. Why would you do that?
I was telling Lydia that I was at Emerald City next weekend.
Oh God, that's so sweet.
Yep. That's the hotel is not for Wednesday night, but the show is Thursday, so I have to go down pretty early Thursday morning. Oh, did I tell you that I'll be sharing with Monster Elementary people?
Oh, you didn't.
Yeah.
That's probably good, right?
Yeah, they seem like nice folk.
Well, good, because it's recorded on the internet, so now they'd know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose if they ever knew about this, they know the things that I've said about them. My panel that I'm speaking on is Thursday afternoon, evening, and I'm maybe super nervous about it.
Oh, what are you talking about?
It's
just about Space Goat?
Yeah, the official title is Beyond Evil Dead, like Space Goat and Beyond, or something like that. It has the word beyond in it twice, which I feel is needless. And I'm also okay with that being recorded.
Okay. Maybe you should. I don't remember
like,
if we've talked about what your job is.
Oh, I am a project manager, editor. Project manager and editor at Space Goat Productions Publishing. It is a comic book production company as well as a publisher. We publish Evil Dead 2 comics as well as other stuff. The panel that I'm speaking at is about Space Goat, and the 5 speakers will be Frank Hanna, who is he has film credits to his name and writes the main series of Evil Dead books. Georgia Ball, who wrote a couple of Evil Dead things. Oh, it was really cool. She's doing the Revenge of Jack the Ripper sketch, and I thought it was neat. Not sketch, issue.
Yeah.
And I sent that to the licensors, and the licensor that I usually work with responded and went out of her way to say how cool she thought the story was.
That's
and
cool.
She was really excited about it. And then the head licensor guy that rarely ever contributes to conversation chimed in too. I also really liked it.
Like this.
And dang, this is the only time both of them have responded so positively. So yeah, she writes that. She also writes for Strawberry Shortcake, I think Scooby Doo, and a couple of other stuff. But she kind of has gotten the writer equivalent of typecasted for all ages stuff, and she really likes writing Evil Dead and horror and stuff like that. So they just make me do kid stuff all the time. So those 2 people, and then Gwen and Nick from who are the creators of Monster Elementary.
I should finish reading that. I liked that PDF that was on my computer.
Yeah. Monster Elementary is an all-ages anthology of a monster school being shut down by the FBI and all the monster kids being forced to go to a regular elementary school, and then the troubles they face there. It was originally Kickstarted.
Language. Oh God, I can't even talk. Language. Jesus. Yeah. It's not a word. Okay.
It was originally Kickstarted.
Need more coffee, apparently.
Holy goodness, or less coffee.
No, I was bad like this before I had coffee. I just need more. My headache's gone. That's good. I feel like.
Oh no! Are you getting caffeine withdrawal headaches now? Is that a thing?
I don't think that's what that was. I mean, I got that headache last night. I don't know why I would get a nighttime caffeine headache. That doesn't make sense. And then
Have you had coffee that day?
No. I don't think I'm getting caffeine withdrawals. I'm not going to say I am. That sounds stupid. I'm not going to admit to that.
Yeah, so it's Frank, Georgia, Gwen, and Nick. Oh, yeah, it's going to be published under Space Goat now, and will be available for retail in June, and Comixology for digital download soon. Oh,
so I am cheating and
Kickstarter backers.
Oh, they got it. Okay.
Yeah. Because they self-published originally, and then we're rebranding and distributing it via Diamond. Because they didn't distribute it via Diamond, they just did Kickstarter.
That's kind of cool.
So all of these accomplished comic creators and
you. Well, you're an accomplished comic editor because you edited all these things, or project managed them, whatever. whatever you are. We do things. We're no Daisy Star Wars, but I don't remember what her name is. I'm sorry. 22 and being famous. Oh, God. What's her last name? Just tell me.
Oh, really?
Ridley. That's a cute name. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna check IMDb.
No, none of us know.
Daisy Ridley, yeah.
Daisy Ridley. Such a cute name.
And she's a year younger than us.
Weird. Oh my God. Birthdays, those are coming up. Mine's in 17 days. Gonna be 25.
That's the second. So 16 days.
Oh shit. Well, yeah, okay. I was thinking like hour counting math where you don't count the first thing. I don't know. I'm bad at life. What is it? Scroll. What is it?
It's a movie. A boy writes a comic book with his best friend and finds situations depicted in the comic book coming to life. Along with the appearance of a mysterious girl, the boy is forced to face the reality of what he has written and begins a battle to attempt to rewrite that.
Did he write himself a girlfriend? Is that where the story is going?
Wrote himself dead or killed people or something like that. And now he realizes that as things are coming to life and what he's written, people that he's written about dying are going to die, and he's going to try to stop it.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So it's like anti-death note.
Oh, so he wrote a non-erotic friend fiction, and now he's got to stop it from coming true. That's interesting. Maybe that's what actually is happening.
And it Daisy really does this. I think it's animated.
So, are they actually making a Tomb Raider?
It's rumored, or they're going to make it, and she is rumored to play Lara Croft, which would be pretty cool.
I like that Tumblr post of like, sci-fi to adventure. What is this? Nobody's ever been that, and they just showed. No, fuck, I
Harrison
can't.
Ford.
Harrison, goddamn.
George Harrison.
Being Indiana Jones. I can't. I want to tell funny stories, but I still am not.
That belongs in the museum.
I don't think I'm ever gonna not have a hard time with actors' names. It's just important to bear.
Oh, I got back from the interview.
Awesome. Oh, did we? Yeah, Taylor did an interview about Spell. That's what we were talking about. That's what started this whole tangent.
Yeah, it's probably not going to go. I think that was last time.
Well, it's not gonna. They're not gonna use it.
No, it's going to go up in a couple weeks.
Oh, okay. What's this thing called that somebody writes?
Funzerd.
Funzerd. Funzerd. Is it a blog?
Yep. Nope, I'm getting back to reading.
Okay, yeah, let's read.
Worst at stories.
It's fine. It's okay if we take a break every now and then. Just let's not. I don't know.
It's real easy with the episodic nature of the fairy tales.
Yeah, I think this was a good choice. I think fairy tales was a good thing to read.
The story of Hiroshima Taro, the fisher lad. Long, long ago in the province of Tenga, there lived on the shore of Japan, in the little fishing village of Mizunoye, a young fisherman named Hiroshima Taro. His father had been a fisherman before him, and his skill had more than doubly descended to his son. For Hiroshima was the most skillful fisher in all that countryside.
I'm gonna be the best fisherman there ever was. It sounds like
I would watch a fishing anime.
I'm trying to think. I had a fishing
Like-
game, but
Like that
was kind of
episode
a-
of Sword Art Online, but just like that's the entire.
oh my god.
I'd watch it. Alright. All the countryside, he could catch more bonito and tai in a day than his comrades could in a week.
Wow, what a hot shot.
He's gonna fish that lake dry. But in the little fishing village, more than ever, well, that's not what I would say. More than for being a clever fisher of the sea, he was he known for his kind heart. In his whole life, he'd never hurt anything, either great or small, except for the fish that he caught, killed, and ate.
I murder fish, but nothing else.
And when a boy, his companions had always laughed at him, for he would never join with them in teasing animals. He always tried
But
to
just
keep them
fish.
from the cruel sport. One soft summer twilight, he was going home at the end of a day's fishing when he came upon a group of children. They were all screaming and talking at the tops of their voices and seemed to be in a state of
As
great
children
excitement
do.
about something. And on his going up to see what was the matter, he saw that they were tormenting a tortoise.
No.
First one boy pulled it this way, then another pulled it that way, while a third beat it with a stick,
Oh my
and the
god.
fourth hammered its shell with a stone.
Wow,
Now Hiroshima felt very sorry for the poor tortoise and made up his mind to rescue it.
tortoise.
Of course.
That's how I said tortoise.
Because
Okay.
he spoke to the boys. What voice should he have?
He's a boy, so you should
He's
have
not
a...
a boy anymore.
Is he
When he was a boy.
Oh, now he's a man?
I assume so.
Okay. I don't know. Voices.
Look here, boys.
Not that voice, please.
Look here, boys.
Not that voice.
You are treating that poor tortoise so badly that it will soon die. The boys, who were all of an age when children seem to delight in being cruel to animals, took no notice of
probably.
Hiroshima's gentle reproof and went on teasing it as before. One of the older boys answered.
Dancers? Okay.
My mouth is doing some goofy things. One of the older boys answered, "Who cares whether it lives or dies? We do not. Here, boys, go on, go on."
Okay.
Yeah,
He can be a
side
monster.
character.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then began to treat the poor tortoise more cruelly than ever. Hiroshima waited a moment, turning over in his mind what would be the best way to deal with the boys. He would try to persuade them to give the tortoise up to him. So he smiled at them and said, "I'm sure you are all good, kind boys.
I don't think so.
Now won't you give me the tortoise? I should like to have so much."
Should like to take it away from you assholes so much.
"No, we
No!
won't give you the tortoise," said one of the boys. "Why should we?"
You've got feminine hips.
Yes, that's the voice. "Why should we? We caught it ourselves." "What you say is true," said Hiroshima, "but I do not ask you to give it to me for nothing. I will give you some money for it. In other words, the Oji-san, uncle, will buy it of you. Won't that do for you, my boys?"
My boys.
He held up the money to them, strung on a piece of string through a hole in the center of each coin. "Look, boys, you can buy anything you like with this money. You can do much more with this money than you can with that poor tortoise. See what good boys you are to listen to me." The boys were not bad boys at all. They were only mischievous. And as Hiroshima spoke, they were won by his kind smile and gentle words and began to be of his spirit, as they say in Japan. Gradually, they all came up to him, the ringleader of the little band holding out the tortoise to him. "Very well, Oji-san, we'll give you the tortoise if you will give us the money." And Hiroshima took the tortoise and gave the money to the boys, who, calling to each other, scampered away and were soon out of sight. Then Hiroshima stroked the tortoise's back, saying as he did so, "Oh, you poor thing, poor thing. There, you are safe now. They say that a stork lives for 1,000 years, but the tortoise for 10,000 years. You have the longest life of any creature in this world, and you are in great danger of having that precious life cut short by those cruel boys. Luckily, I was passing by and saved you, and so life is still yours.
Nasty.
Now I'm going to take you back to your home, the sea, at once. Do not let yourself be caught again, for there might be no one to save you next time." All the time that kind fisherman With speaking, he was walking quickly to the shore and out upon the rocks. Then, putting the tortoise into the water, he watched the animal disappear and turned himself homeward, for he was tired and the sun had set. The next morning, Hiroshima went out as usual in his boat. The weather was fine, and the sea and sky were both blue and soft in the tender haze of the summer morning.
Tender.
Hiroshima got into his boat and dreamily pushed out to sea, throwing his line as he did so. He soon passed the other fishing boats and left them behind him, till they were lost to sight in the distance, and his boat drifted further and further out, upon the blue waters. Somehow, he knew not why, he felt unusually happy that morning. And he could not help wishing that, like the tortoise he set free the day before, he had thousands of years to live instead of his own short span of human life. He was suddenly startled from his reverie by hearing his own name called. Hiroshima, Hiroshima, clear as a bell and soft as the sun. Summer, sorry, there's cracks on my screen that made that a different word. And soft as the summer wind, the name floated over the sea. He stood up and looked in every direction, thinking that one of the other boats had overtaken him. But gaze as he might over the wide expanse of water near or far, there was no sign of a boat, so the voice could not have come from any human being. Startled and wondering who or what it was that called him so clearly, he looked in all directions round about him and saw that, without his knowing, a tortoise had come to the side of the boat. Hiroshima saw with surprise that it was the very tortoise he had rescued the day before. This very tortoise.
This very tortoise.
Well, Mr. Tortoise, said Hiroshima, was it you who called my name just now? The tortoise nodded its head several times and said, Yes, it was I, yesterday in your honorable shadow. For Kage-sama Day, I guess. My life was saved, and I have come to you to offer you my thanks and to tell you how grateful I am for your kindness. Indeed, said Hiroshima. That is very polite of you. Come up into the boat.
Such good manners.
I would offer you a smoke, but as you are a tortoise, doubtless you do not smoke. And the fisherman laughed at the joke. Laughed the tortoise. Sake is my favorite refreshment, but I do not care for tobacco. Indeed, said Hiroshima, I regret very much that I have no sake in my boat to offer you, but come up and dry your back in the sun. Tortoises always love to do that. As the tortoise climbed into the
you don't
boat,
know me.
The fisherman helping him, and after an exchange of complimentary speeches, the tortoise said, Have you ever seen Rengen, the palace of the Dragon King of the sea, Hiroshima? The fisherman shook his head.
Dragon King, last Dragon King, or is it the same Dragon King?
I think this is a new Dragon King.
They're many
Dragon
dragons.
Kings are bound by certain bodies of water.
Okay.
So the last one was the Dragon King of Lake Biwa, and this is the Dragon King of
That ocean.
Yeah, unless he mentions a centipede or something.
We'll see.
The fisherman shook his head and replied, No. Year after year the sea has been my home, and though I have often heard of the Dragon King's realm under the sea, I have never yet set my eyes on that wonderful place. It would be very far away if it exists at all. Is that really so? You have never seen the Sea King's palace? Then you have missed seeing one of the most wonderful sights in the whole universe. It is far away at the bottom of the sea, but if I take you there, we shall soon reach the place. If you would like to see the Sea King's land, I will be your guide. I should like to go there, certainly. You are very kind to think of taking me, but you must remember that I am only a poor mortal, and have not the power of swimming like a sea creature such as you are. Before the fisherman could say more, the tortoise stopped him, saying, What? You need not swim yourself. If you will ride on my back, I will take you without any trouble on your part. But, said Hiroshima, how is it possible for me to ride on your small back? It may seem absurd to you, but I assure you that you can do so. Try it once. Just come and get on my back, and see if it is as impossible as you think. As the tortoise finished speaking, Hiroshima looked at its shell, and strange to say, he saw that the creature had suddenly grown so big that a man could easily sit on its back.
Magic turtle.
This is strange indeed, said Hiroshima. Then, Mr. Tortoise, With your kind permission, I will go get on your back. Dokuisho, he exclaimed as he jumped on. I'm guessing that's an equivalent. Yeah, there's another little footnote thing.
That's some kind of expression like, let's go!
Yep. The tortoise, with an unmoved face, as if this strange proceeding were quite an ordinary event, said, "Now we will sit out at our leisure." And with these words he leapt into the sea with Urashima on his back. Down through the water the tortoise dived. For a long time these two strange companions rowed through the sea. Urashima never grew tired, nor his clothes moist with the water. At last, far away in the distance, a magnificent gate appeared. Behind the gate, the long, sloping roofs, palace on the horizon. "Yeah," exclaimed Urashima. "That looks like the gate of some large palace just appearing. Mr. Tortoise, can you tell me what that place is we can now see?" "That is the great gate of the Ringen Palace. The large roof that you see behind the gate is the Sea King's palace itself." "Then we have at least come to the realm of the Sea King, and to his palace," said Urashima. "Yes, indeed," answered the tortoise. "And don't you think we have come very quickly?" And while he was speaking, the tortoise reached the side of the gate. "And here we are, and you must please walk from here." The tortoise now went in front, and speaking to the gatekeeper, said, "This is Urashima Taro, from the country of Japan. I have had the honor of bringing him as a visitor to this kingdom. Please show him the way." Then the gatekeeper, who was a fish, at once led the way through the gate before them. The red bream, the flounder, the sole, the cuttlefish, and all the chief vassals of the Dragon King of the Sea now came out with courtly bows to welcome the stranger. Is it going to be awkward that he's a fisherman and they're fish?
I think they probably understand
And they
that
also
people gotta eat. Yeah, well, some of them gotta eat fish. Fish aren't all seaweed eaters. Beard chewers.
Beard eaters.
Beard eaters. Oh, that's a good one.
Beard eater is the insult we
Made up for dwarves last night.
Urashima-sama, welcome to the Sea Palace, the home of the Dragon King of the Sea. Thrice welcome are you, having come from such a distant country. And you, Mr. Tortoise, we are greatly indebted to you for all of your trouble in bringing Urashima here. Then turning again to Urashima, they said, "Please follow us this way." And from here, the whole band of fishes became his guides. Urashima, being only a poor fisher lad, did not know how to behave in a palace, but, strange though it was all to him, he did not feel ashamed or embarrassed, but followed his kind guides quite calmly, where they led to the inner palace. When he reached the portals, a beautiful princess with her attendant maidens came out to welcome him. She was more beautiful than any human being, and was robed in flowing garments of red and soft green, like the underside of a wave, and golden threads glimmered through the folds of her gown. Her lovely black hair streamed over her shoulders in the fashion of a king's daughter many hundreds of years ago, and when she spoke, her voice sounded like music over the water.
She got that humor hair.
Yeah, you know it. Urashima was lost in wonder while he looked upon her and could not speak. Oh, he went to the Sea Palace. Does he have enduring hardship? Will he be able to marry the Mer-daughter?
This isn't Arabian Nights, but probably. I don't know if he needs enduring hardship, though. He's got kindness to animals. He's got wilderness and...
Wilderness lore?
Yeah, wilderness lore.
Could not speak. Then he remembered that he ought to bow, but before he could make a low obeisance, the princess took him by the hand and led him to a beautiful hall, and to the seat of honor at the upper end, and bade him to be seated. "Urashima Taro, it gives me the highest pleasure to welcome you to my father's kingdom," said the princess. "Yesterday you set free a tortoise, and I have sent for you to thank you for saving my life. For I was that tortoise."
Wow!
What?
She was that tortoise.
I did not see that coming.
I did. Well, I didn't say it because I was like, this is probably not the Tortoise Bride. That's a different fairy tale. But you're going to marry that tortoise.
Yep.
I was right. Should have said it. Now
And I believe you.
You can believe me.
Now, if you like, You shall live here forever in the land of eternal youth, where summer never dies,
I
and
think
where
he doesn't
sorrow
marry her, though.
never comes.
The longer I listen, the more I think that this is a story that we were told a lot in elementary school. I think he stays.
And I will be your bride. Oh, if you will, and we
I
will
won't.
live together happily forever afterwards. And as Urashima listened to her sweet words and gazed upon her lovely face, his heart was filled with great wonder and joy, and he answered her, wondering if it was not at all a dream. Thank you 1,000 times for your kind speech. There is nothing I could wish for more than to be permitted to stay here with you, in this beautiful land of which I have often heard, but have never seen to this day. Beyond all words, this is the most wonderful place I have ever seen. While he was speaking, a train of fishes appeared, all dressed in ceremonial, trailing garments. One by one, silently, with stately steps, they entered the hall, bearing on coral trays delicacies of fish and seaweed, such as no one can dream of. And this wondrous feast was set before the bride and bridegroom. The bridal was celebrated with dazzling splendor, and in the Sea King's realm there was great rejoicing. As soon as the pair had pledged themselves in the wedding cup of wine, 3 times 3, music was played and songs were sung, and fishes with silver scales and golden tails stepped in from the waves and danced. Hiroshima enjoyed himself with all his heart. Never in his whole life had he sat down to such a marvelous feast. When the feast was over, the princess asked the bridegroom if he would like to walk through the palace and see all there was to be seen. Then the happy fisherman, following his bride, the Sea King's daughter, was shown all the wonders of that enchanted land, where youth and joy go hand in hand, and neither time nor age can touch them. The palace was built of coral and adorned with pearls, and the beauties and wonders of the place were so great that the tongue fails to describe them. But to Hiroshima, more wonderful than the palace was the garden that surrounded it. Here was to be seen at one time the scenery of the 4 different seasons. The beauties of summer and winter, spring and autumn were displayed to the wondering visitor at once. First, when he looked to the east, the plum and cherry trees were seen in full bloom, the nightingales sang in the pink avenues, and butterflies flitted from flower to flower. Looking to the south, all the trees were green in the fullness of summer, and the day cicala and the night cricket chirped loudly. Cicada?
I
It's an L instead of a D.
don't know. You could ask Google again.
Boop, boop, boop. Okay, Google, is this important? The story?
Probably not, but let's say our curiosity. Spots and spots and spots and dots. That's how we get it cleaned up. Google, Google.
Cicala is how
Cicala.
it's said. Um, it is just a different version of cicada.
Oh, okay.
Cicala.
That's nice.
Yep. Okay, I said that word wrong. That's okay. Moving on. Looking to the west, the autumn maples were ablaze like a sunset sky, and the chrysanthemums were in perfection. Yeah,
Okay.
chrysanthemums?
Okay. Stumbled on your words, so I put them on you. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Looking to the north, the change made Hiroshima start, for the ground was silver white with snow, and the trees and bamboos were also covered with snow, and the pond was thick with ice. And each day there were new joys, new wonders for Hiroshima. And so great was his happiness that he forgot everything, even the home he had left behind, and his parents and his own country. And 3 days passed without his even thinking of all that he had left behind. Then his mind came back to him, and he remembered who he was, and that he did not belong to this wonderful land of the Sea King's palace. And he said to himself, "Oh dear,
Oh dear.
I must not stay on here, for I have an old father and mother at home. What can have happened to them all this time? How anxious they must have been these days when I did not return as usual. I must go back at once without letting one more day pass. And he began to prepare for the journey in great haste. Then he went to his beautiful wife, the princess, and bowing low before her, he said, "Indeed, I have been very happy with you for a long time. All
For
3
3
of these days,
days.
such a long 3 days."
Longest of time. But now I must go.
Otohime-sama, for that was her name. And you have been kinder to me than any words can tell. But now I must say goodbye. I must go back to my old parents. Then Otohime-sama began to weep and said softly and sadly, "Is it not well with you here, Hiroshima, that you wish to leave me so soon? Where is the haste? Stay with me yet another day only." But Hiroshima had remembered his old parents, and in Japan the duties to parents are stronger than everything else, stronger even than the pleasure or love. And he would not be persuaded, but answered, "Indeed, I must go. Do not think that I wish to leave you. It is not that. I must go and see my old parents. Let me go for one day, and I will come back to you." Oh no, it's going to be one of those Rip Van Winkle things.
I think it's gonna be he breaks his promise and doesn't go back.
Well, maybe then she dies.
And she
Is it Beauty and the Beast style?
well, I don't know if she dies, but he gets locked out of the
Style?
he gets locked out of the Undersea Kingdom.
Maybe.
We'll see. We will see.
"Then," said the princess sorrowfully, "there is nothing to be done. I will send you back today to your father and your mother, and instead of trying to keep you with me here one more day, I shall give you this as a token of our love. Please take it back with you." And she brought him a beautiful lacquer box, tied about with a silken cord and tassels of red silk. Hiroshima had received so much from the princess already that he felt some compunction in taking the gift, and said, "It does not seem right for me to take yet another gift from you after all the many favors I have received at your hands, but because it is your wish, I will do so." And then he added, "Tell me, what is this box?" "That," answered the princess, "is the tamate bako, box of the jewel hand, and it contains something very precious. A jewel hand, perhaps?
Perhaps.
You must not open this box, whatever happens. If you open it, something dreadful will happen to you. Now promise me that you will never open this box."
Why are you giving it to me?
Oh, but his parents are going to open the box.
Something horrible happens. They turn into secreters. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe let's just read the story and find out. And Hiroshima promised that he would never, never open the box, whatever happened. Then, bidding goodbye to Otohime-sama, he went down to the seashore, and the princess and her attendants following him. And there he found a large tortoise waiting for him. He quickly mounted the creature's back and was carried away over the shining sea into the east. He looked back to wave his hand to Otohime-sama, till at last he could see her no more. And the land of the Sea King and the roofs of the wonderful palace were lost in the far, far distance. Then, with his face turned eagerly towards his own land, he looked for the rising of the blue hills on the horizon before him. At last the tortoise carried him into the bay he knew so well, and to the shore from whence he had set out. He stepped onto the shore and looked about him, while the tortoise rode away back to the Sea King's realm.
Man,
What-
I want fish and chips. I don't know why, but
Mhm.
I just really
Let's
want.
just get fish and chips.
Let's just
Like,
do it.
You've been wanting fish and chips for days now, and you keep coming up with reasons to not have fish and chips.
It's not good for me. I don't eat greasy fried fish and chips, but it just sounds so good. Maybe we'll see.
Well, now I want fish and
Oh
chips.
damn. Okay, well maybe for dinner. Whatever. And let's.
But what is the strange fear that seizes Hiroshima as he stands and looks about him? Why does he gaze so fixedly at the people that pass him by?
Oh no, he is in the
Why do they
future.
in turn stand and look at him? The shore is the same and the hills are the same, but the people that he sees walking past him have very different faces to those he had known so well before. Wondering what it could mean, he walks quickly towards his old home. Even that looks different, but a house stands in the spot and he calls out, "Father, I have just returned." And he was about to enter when he saw a strange man coming
Who
out.
are you?
Perhaps my parents have moved while I have been away and have gone somewhere else. And that was the fisherman's thought. Somehow he began to feel strangely anxious. He could not tell why. "Excuse me," he said to the man. He was staring at him. But till within the last few days I have lived in this house. My name is Hiroshima Taro. Where have my parents gone, whom I left here? A very bewildered expression came over the face of the man, and still gazing intently on Hiroshima's face, he said, "What? Are you Hiroshima Taro?" "Yes," said the fisherman. "I am Hiroshima Taro." "Ha ha!" laughed the man. "You must not make such jokes. It is true that once upon a time a man called Hiroshima Taro did live in this village, but that is a story 300 years old. He could not possibly be alive now." When Hiroshima heard these strange words, he was frightened and said, "Please, please, you must not joke with me. I am greatly perplexed. I am really Hiroshima Taro, and I certainly have not lived 300 years. Till 4 or 5 days ago, I lived on this spot. Tell me what I want to know without more joking, please." But the man's face grew more and more grave, and he answered, "You may or may not be Hiroshima Taro, but I do not know. But the Hiroshima Taro of whom I have heard is the man who lived 300 years ago. Perhaps you are his spirit, come to revisit your old home?" "Why do you mock me?" said Hiroshima. "I'm no spirit. I'm a living man. Do you not see my feet?"
My feet! His ghosts don't
Everybody,
have feet.
yeah. And Don he stamped on the ground, first with one foot and then with the other to show the man. Japanese ghosts have no feet.
Dang.
"But Hiroshima Taro lived 300 years ago, and that is all I know. It is written in the village chronicles," persisted the man, who could not believe what the fisherman said. Hiroshima was lost in bewilderment and trouble. He stood looking all around him, terribly puzzled, and indeed something in the appearance of everything was different to what he remembered before he went away. And the awful feeling came over him, and that what the man said was perhaps true. He seemed to be in a strange dream. The few days he had spent in the Sea King's palace beyond the sea had not been days at all.
Does he ever
They'd
even
been
meet the Sea
hundreds
King?
of years.
Sea King!
Presumably.
Okay.
Yeah, because they married his daughter.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure he showed up to the wedding, right? I mean, it was pretty rude. Sea King didn't even go to his own daughter's wedding.
It was a different time.
They had been hundreds of years, and in that time his parents had died, and all the people he had ever known, and the village had written down his story. There's no use in staying here any longer. He must get back to his beautiful wife beyond the sea. He made his way back to the beach, carrying in his hand the box which the princess had given him, but which was the way. He could not find it alone. Suddenly he remembered the box, the tamtebako.
You're not supposed to open it.
The princess told me when she gave me the box never to open it, that it contained a very precious thing. And now that I have no home, now that I have lost everything that was dear to me here, and my heart grows thin with sadness, at such a time, if I open the box, surely I shall find something that will help me, something that will show me the way back to my beautiful princess over the sea. There is nothing else for me to do now. Yes, I will open the box and look in. Bro. And so his heart consented to this act of disobedience, and he tried to persuade himself that he was doing the right thing and breaking his promise.
What else are you supposed to do? Just kind of hope that turtle comes back?
Go back to the same place he had always gone fishing for forever,
I guess
and then
so.
hope for one of the Sea King's many denizens to find him
I
afloat as they always had in the past.
but he said, like, I just need one day, which is like 100 years. I don't know. Yeah, okay, whatever. He's gonna
But
open
it's
the
still
box.
one day for him, so he just had to float out on the ocean for for a day.
I don't know which day it is, which person's day. It might be her day, it might be his day. Who knows? Anyway,
Oh shoot, you're right. Yeah, she might have waited for 100 years.
Yeah.
His time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Then he would be dead.
Then he would be dead. Probably. I don't know. Maybe eating the Sea King's magic food makes you.
I don't know. Slowly, very slowly, he untied the red silk cord. Slowly and wonderingly, he lifted the lid of the precious box. And what did he find? The princess's severed head.
No!
Strange to say, what's in the box? Strange to say, only a beautiful little purple cloud rose out of the box in 3 soft wisps. For an instant, it covered his face and waved over him as if loath to go. and then it floated away like vapor over the sea. Hiroshima, who had been till that moment like a strong and handsome youth of 24,
Oh,
suddenly became very, very old.
oh no.
His back doubled up with age, his hair turned snowy white, his face wrinkled, and he fell down dead on the beach.
Oh, wow.
Poor Hiroshima. Because of his disobedience, he could never return to the Sea King's realm as a lovely princess beyond the sea. Little children, never be disobedient to those who are wiser than you, for disobedience was the beginning of all the miseries and sorrows of life. The end. The end. That's how it ends.
Wow.
He's dead.
Don't be disobedient,
dies.
guys.
Yeah.
Just follow the rules. It'll be fine. Okay. Jesus. Oh, man. Well, made pretty good progress. I got 3 pages after this to get through the painting, the touching ups. So these pages, this page that I'm on and the one before it, yeah, that one, are the start of like some pretty big, well, I mean, they're crowd scenes, because this is a party. These dummies are at a party for this chapter. But I hate drawing crowds. It's really hard to think of people, randos, to draw. So for this, I did a bunch of cameos from other comics. But I occasionally frequent the webcomic board forum thing called Webcomic Underdogs. At least that's what it used to be called. They merged with someplace else, and I'm really bad about keeping up on like online forum activity because social interaction is hard, especially with people I don't know. But I had posted asking for people who wanted to have cameos in this chapter. There's a lot of cameos in here. Let's go through and circle them. I don't remember what all webcomics they're from. So these guys are all from a webcomic about cats. Cats that fight evil, I think. I read the first chapter. That was like a long bunch of months ago. I think I asked for these back in December. No, back in October. I don't remember when I drew this chapter. It's a couple months ago. No, Rice Roller. I mean, I won't eat my snack while I talk. This guy, this lady are both from iMummy, which seems to be a pretty cool comic. I haven't read it yet because it's a steampunk mystery comic about a mummy that solves crime. I think maybe supernatural crime. I'm not completely sure.
Sounds pretty cool.
The plot sounds pretty cool. It's got an art style it's like those old kind of Prince Valiant type art.
Oh,
so it's not always a thing that is like super, like it's not my preferred art style, but I'm sure the story is solid. You can see these cats again over here. Cats, Kit Kat cats. She is from a comic. I'm not completely sure which one. I don't know what it's called. It's about a Chinese ogre. I think she's a Chinese ogre. She does things, has adventures.
Did you at least write down what it's
Yeah.
You should link them in the description.
I will.
Okay.
I have a whole tab group dedicated to these comics so I can give proper credit so people can go explore new comics if they feel like. I really want to read all the webcomics I ever find. Not all of them. Some webcomics are not my cup of tea. I won't say bad, but I don't want to read all webcomics. I find a lot of webcomics when I do my advertising and Project Wonderful, so I have this huge tab group just full of like hundreds of webcomics that I would like to read that I think are probably really good. I just don't have the energy to read them all. I'm very tired all the time. I just feel,
Long stories to keep track of.
as I said, I'm all or nothing. I'm lazy. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go do it. But if I'm not, I won't.
You should read Shoot Around.
Shoot Around. What's that?
Yeah, that's the zombie comic that I was reading.
Oh yeah.
So good.
It's on Webtoon though. I don't want to read on Webtoon.
I just get the Webtoon app.
I don't want to get the Webtoons app.
It's so easy to read things
No.
on apps.
We had in our design course, one of them, the web design course, we had to read an article about whether or not apps would be the death of the internet. Like if we, because like if people aren't going to use browsers and like they're just going to use apps to get content, like where does that leave the internet in general? Like we have a craft app that we use. You've got your Webtoons, Tapastic app. Like when will people just stop making websites and start making apps instead? Because you can like all the shopping apps. Amazon's got an app. Like there's apps for literally everything. I mean, not literally everything, but figuratively, pretty much most things.
I think
it's an interesting argument. I don't think the internet's going to die because of
it's
apps,
an interesting argument. It seems a little bit more kind of like it's the whole like fatalist argument of
only one can exist while the other survives.
Yeah. Which those things are hardly as cut and dry as a lot of the arguments make it out. It is a fairly compelling argument. I think what is mainly the point is I don't believe anybody will stop using large format computers, so desktops, large screen laptops, and stuff like that.
I don't think so either.
As like, I guess I haven't done a ton of like research on it, but so Windows 10 kind of tried to encourage people to use apps, right, instead of like programs.
Yeah.
So it kind of encourages that. But from my understanding,
technically a program is just an app. It's the application.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think apps on mobile are infinitely more useful than the browser version most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah, there's still a couple of things like I absolutely hate how like links don't work in the Tumblr app. Have you ever noticed that? Like if somebody links things in their description, you can't click on it, and a lot of times if you like click on the keep reading in some of their Tumblr posts, it just takes you to their Tumblr page. It doesn't take you to that specific post. So like, yeah, apps have a lot of. Oh, Mama, what did you do? You got her leg caught on your book.
Oh, you okay?
For those hearing, I'm not actually referring to my mother. I am referring to our probably old cat, which we call Mama.
Yeah. Last set of cameos, I got some them dupers, this duper, very intent dupers. Oh, actually, this guy's from a comic too. A comic about dinosaurs.
Is it Indian?
It is Indian. Indian chatting up a T-Rex.
Nice.
Yeah, I had fun drawing that. And then there's Indian Nash and one. It's a little horn popping up.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
You should make sure to.
No, okay, so but
tweet the page at FOSS.
Tweet the page at FOSS. Well, I'll tweet the page at FOSS when it comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, they're my patrons, so maybe they'll come. They probably won't come watch this. I don't think they will. They got enough stuff to do. I'm sure they're very busy. Who wants to listen to my stupid voice? Probably nobody.
Oh, don't do that. Girl.
I'm sorry. I just think it sounds so bad on recordings. It's not a good voice. Right? Much bad. Although you got your dulcet tones, all your funny voices you do. I can want another roller. That was tasty.
Yeah,
another snack. Snack. No, but okay, so design kids are weird. There's one guy in my class who, when we were like having that whole discussion about apps, he was like super convinced smartphones were going out in like the next couple of years. Like that we just would not have smartphones anymore. It's like
what did he think that we would have instead?
Just regular phones. Like why would I would never go back to a phone that can't check my Facebook all the time. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Like I gotta check my stats for my comic not every hour anymore, but just I gotta rotate through I don't know.
Well, like especially as smartphone technology improves, and things like battery life extends, or honestly, I don't think the pressure to extend battery life is going to be that dramatic, considering the availability of being able to charge it is just so prevalent.
Yeah.
Like I don't know a single person that, like with the exception of like going camping or something like that. Like if you're specifically
you can bring a backup battery.
Yeah, like
if you really need it. I mean,
yeah.
I was glad your phone died during our camping trip because you needed to not be plugged in for that.
Oh, you don't want me to have constant work anxiety of
No, I'd like you
of
to.
checking work email all the time.
I would prefer if you didn't, actually.
Speaking of which,
No, don't check your work email.
No, I have to. There's a thing that I needed to do.
Right, you got to work.
Thank you for reminding me.
Anyway, this page has got. It's really difficult to do these levels because my gray tones, I don't want to drop them out, but I want things to still be dark, but like the light area. Because otherwise, as you saw on the last page, I have to go through and burn everything, dodge everything. Burn and dodge and burn. They're two different things. But okay, so cameos on this page. There's I don't know how many people again. This guy is a raptor from, I think, a sticker from Johnny Wander. It looks like a Johnny Wander style, like their Crow Beast kind of clip art raptor, but he might be from a comic. I don't know. The person that posted that just posted the image and not the actual comic, so I was like, nah, whatever. And there's those Kit Kats again. So feel a little bit bad about the cats because the person gave me, like, I asked for what the characters were wearing because I didn't want to try to think of outfits for everybody. And I originally drew those cats in the right outfits that they should be wearing, but then when I had to go through and ink it, it had been like 3 or 4 months, 2 months, I don't know, more than a month. And I just could not remember like what the outfit was, and like Taylor's always stealing a laptop that says it's janky. You blame me for that? I am going to blame you for that because I don't know. I just didn't think about it. I checked before I did most of their facial markings. It's like cats got to have their facial markings. I got to do that right. I don't draw animals a lot, in case you didn't notice. That's a hard thing for me. I mean, it's the same deal as just like making sure a character's eyes or hairstyle or hair coloring is correct, but for cats and for cats. Yeah, but their clothing, I messed up their clothing when I was inking. Like, I'm pretty sure I drew it like 3 different times, the 3 different times that I drew them, and hopefully nobody notices. I mean, like, nobody that doesn't watch this and sees me confess to my crime, but I know I'm being good and whatever. I know I would be the sparrow in this case, and my tongue will grow back because I'm a fairy also. Meh. Yeah, I did really enjoy doing cameos for this, like consenting ones from people that I asked, and they're like, "Yeah, I want to have a cameo. It's great." I was surprised at how many. I don't think a lot of people have monsters in their comics on that forum, maybe. Or like, I mean, I got like 3 different dinosaurs, I think. 2 different dinosaurs. And there aren't dinosaurs in the setting. But there are dragons, dragon people, dragon lad. Aloysius? I forgot what his name is. Archimicarus? That's somebody else. That's Archimedes? No.
Alcheminius?
Alcheminius, that's his dumb name that
You can name him whatever you
No,
want.
I like that name. Like, it's dumb, but I like it. It fits for a dragon. I just can't remember it. When he gets his chapter, I'll remember it probably.
I gave him a nickname in the dating center, but I don't remember what it was.
Is it just Al? Because that makes sense.
2 syllables.
And
I don't think it was Aloe. I don't remember that.
Aloe? Hello. But yeah, so it was fun to draw dragons. Convert dinosaurs to dragons. Man, all my secrets getting leaked. All my secrets about how sloppy I do everything. How much touching up everything requires. I'm ruining the magic. Behind the scenes just ruins the magic. It's just probably just no magic. Yeah, it's not really surprised that I'm a slob when it comes to art. Probably not the only one. I'm sure there's much sloppier or equally sloppy artists. Just seems like everything's so precise with everybody else. It's probably I'm just looking at too much completely digital art with all their clean, crisp, not bleeding lines. And I like my bleeding lines, and I really hate inking on the computer. Coloring is okay. Inking is not fun. I guess though I haven't really tried importing scanning a pencil thing and inking that. That might be easier. I just don't have a very big screen, so I can't really draw something on the computer. If I had a tablet, I probably could. Like the Cintiq or whatever, the touch ones.
Yeah, those are pretty rad.
Yeah, but trying to just gotten pretty used to the two-pronged interface of I'm touching a thing that is responding a different place.
Oh,
But not that good to do line art.
I don't know. You might already know this, but I realized the thing. You're saying and wondering what I'm doing.
Yeah, what did you realize?
Okay. So you know how sometimes when you're using the tablet, it prevents you from being able to use the keyboard? So you're like using the tablet and then like buttons you press on the keyboard don't do anything?
Yes.
And so like I like holding down the space bar to like hold down space bar and pan, right, when moving around.
Yeah.
If you press the bottom button on your pen, you press and hold on that button and then move, it will pan the screen just like holding down the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
And then that also allows you to use your keyboard. So if you're doing a thing and it doesn't register your keyboard, if you click and pan just for a second, it allows you to use your keyboard.
Right up.
Yeah. So that's a thing.
I think I mostly do that.
I mean, it's pretty easy to like just click with the toucher, or like do something to kind of remind your computer, like, no, I need to use this keyboard.
Yeah.
But that's another
the thing
easy way to do it. Okay, I have gotten snacks. I have added more layers to my body, so I'm less cold, and I am sitting back down.
Oh, okay. Just don't sit on my cords.
I won't.
Okay.
I will try not to.
Get on in here.
Yep, coming in. All right. Oh, yeah, I did the work.
Okay.
Farmer and the Badger.
Badgers. The badger is a Wixoki.
Let's find out. Let's see if they make any references to big bouncing tummies or testicles. Long, long ago, there lived an old farmer and his wife who had made their home in the mountains, far from any town. Their only neighbor was a bad and malicious badger. This badger used to come out every night and run across
bad and malicious.
and run across the farmer's field and spoil the vegetables and the rice, which the farmer spent his time in carefully cultivating.
That's horrible, horrible urine.
The badger at last grew so ruthless in his mischievous work and did so much harm everywhere on the farm that the good-natured farmer could not stand it any longer and determined to put a stop to it. So he lay in wait day after day, night after night, with a big club, hoping to catch the badger, but all in vain. When he laid traps for the wicked, then he laid traps for the wicked animal. The farmer's trouble and patience was rewarded. For one fine day, on going his rounds, he found the badger caught in a hole he had dug for that purpose. The farmer was delighted at having caught his enemy.
Pit trap.
And carried him home securely bound with rope. Then he reached the house. The farmer said to his wife, "I have at last caught the bad badger. You must keep an eye on him while I am out at work, and not let him escape.
And then they fell in love.
Because I want to make him into soup tonight.
Whoa.
Badger soup.
With mushrooms. And snake.
Yep, as you make. That's how you prepare badgers.
Mhm.
Saying this, he hung the badger up to the rafters of his storehouse and went out to work in the fields. The badger was in great distress, for he did not at all like the idea of being made into soup that night, and he thought and thought for a long time, trying to hit upon some plan by which he might escape. It was hard to think clearly in his uncomfortable position, where he had been hung upside down. You know, one thing that I did think was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think Zootopia had any, like, domestic cat,
Yeah,
type.
no, I didn't notice any cats.
which was odd.
Yeah, because cats are pretty popular.
Yeah. Granted, they didn't really have any domestic.
No, they
Dog
had
type.
wolves.
They had wolves. So maybe.
Sort of how, Jared? No, it was the best.
So yeah, so maybe they didn't want to use like domesticated animals. Even though wildcats.
They're still cats. I don't know. It's maybe,
Cats have changed very little over domestication.
I guess
with the exception of like munchkins and the other flat-faced kind of maneuvers that we've made through eugenics, but people don't like being referred to animal breeding as eugenics.
Maybe we're supposed to assume that since humans, there also weren't any apes, like any ape type.
Pardon me?
Type things. Monkeys or apes. Yeah, none of that. So I think we're maybe supposed to assume that those things don't exist, like that there are no humans, so there is no domestication, maybe? Aside from them no longer being savage.
So I can assume that you would not be interested in...
I don't want to play a goddamn tabletop as Zootopia. No, don't do that.
Okay.
I don't want to. No.
Probably won't.
It's not going to happen. I agreed to Mouse Guard. Mouse Guard is fine, but no goddamn furry puppy.
Very near him, at the entrance to the storehouse, looking out towards the green fields and the trees and the pleasant sunshine, stood the farmer's old wife, pounding barley. Many scrambles, come up here.
She spooky mama wants to be cuddled. You can't tell her no.
Woof.
I mean, you can, but she'll squawk at you and bat at you with her weird little claws. Aye.
Part of life too.
Yes.
She looked tired and old. Her face was seamed with many wrinkles and was as brown as leather, and every now and then she stopped to wipe the perspiration which rolled down her face.
Falling in love with this old woman.
Dear lady, said the wily badger.
Wily badger.
You must be very wary in doing so.
Is badger tasty? Like, is that, you just eat anything? I don't know. I guess people can eat anything they want, probably. But why is that?
Okay,
normal?
Google. Is badger tasty?
Is badger tasty?
I was really hoping you'd answer that question.
Maybe I could ask,
Eating badger. A set medium.
could he,
Set with cuties.
I could ask, Siri. Maybe Siri would answer me snarkily.
Already described the notion of the badgers being culled en masse because of their perceived role in spreading bovine tuberculosis.
What?
The nation is now gagging at the suggestion from celebrity chef Clarissa Dixon Wright that the innocent, stripy-faced animals should be cooked and eaten.
What?
Since 1992, it has been illegal to kill badgers in Britain. Which is country there, I suppose.
Okay.
So the only way to get a hold of one to eat has been by picking one off the road.
Why
If
are
the
you...
government's full culling program goes ahead, thousands of badgers could be shot this winter. Meat is getting more expensive after the global grain prices spike in the summer. Wild meats like venison, rabbit, pigeon, and yes, badger and hedgehog are looking rather tasty. I think it's disturbing if you call any sort of initiative the culling.
Yeah, why are
Culling is a very
they?
heavy word. You got to be
It's
careful how you use it.
real heavy. Yeah. Um. Why did they make our badgers in danger? Why did they put them on a no-kill list?
Because people were probably just killing them, and they didn't want that to happen.
Okay. Oh, I mean, you shouldn't just
Kill
murder
animals 'cause you
animals
don't
for
like
no
them.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hufflepuff. No. um. They're probably kind of assholes though as animals. I don't really know.
I mean, that's what cartoons have taught me.
That's what cartoons have taught me, that they're big and grumpy.
Yeah.
But they're so cute.
Yeah.
They're cute.
Dear lady, said the wily badger, you must be very weary doing such heavy work in your old age. Won't you let me do that for you? My arms are very strong, and I could relieve you for a little while. Thank you for your kindness, said the old woman, but I cannot let you do this work for me, because I must not untie you. You might escape if I did, and my husband would be very angry if he came home and found you gone. Now the badger is one of the most cunning of animals, and he said again in a very sad, gentle voice, You are very unkind. You might untie me, for I promise not to try to escape. If you are afraid of your husband, I will let you bind me again before his return when I have finished pounding the barley. I am so tired and sore tied up like this. If you would only let me down for a few minutes, I would indeed be thankful. The old woman had a good and simple nature, and could not think badly of anyone, much less did she think that the badger was only deceiving her in order to get away. She felt sorry, too, for the animal as she turned to look at him. He looked in such a sad plight, hanging downward from the ceiling by his legs, which were all tied together so tightly that the rope and knots were cutting into the skin. So, in the kindness of her heart, and believing the creature's promise that he would not run away, she untied the cord and let him down.
And then he immediately ran away.
The old woman gave him the wooden pestle and told him to do the work for a short time while she rested. He took the pestle, but instead of doing the work as he was told, the badger at once sprang upon the old woman and knocked her down with the heavy piece of wood.
Oh.
Oh!
And
He then killed her
Oh.
and cut her up and made soup out of her
Oh.
and waited for the return of the old farmer.
Wow.
This guy, yeah, this went places that I didn't expect them to go. The old man worked hard in his fields all day, and as he worked, he
Wow.
thought with pleasure that no more now would his labor be spoiled by the destructive badger.
Jeez.
That, my friends, is called dramatic irony.
Oh.
Towards sunset, he left his work and returned to go home. He was very tired, but the thought of a nice supper of hot badger soup awaiting his return cheered him. The thought that the badger might get free and take revenge on the poor old woman never once came into his mind. The badger, meanwhile, assumed the old woman's form, and as soon as he saw the old farmer approaching, came out to greet him on the veranda of the little house, saying,
Husband!
So you've come back at last. I made the badger soup, and have been waiting for you for a long time. The old farmer quickly took off his straw sandals and sat down before his tiny dinner tray. The innocent man never even dreamed that it was not his wife, but the badger who was waiting upon him, and asked at once for the soup. Then the badger suddenly transformed himself back to his natural form and cried out, You wife-eating old man! Look out for the bones in the kitchen! Laughing loudly and derisively, he escaped out of the house and ran away to his den in the hills. The old man was left behind alone. He could hardly believe what he had seen and heard. Then, when he understood the whole truth, he was so scared and horrified that he fainted right away. After a while, he came round and burst into tears. He cried loudly and bitterly. He rocked himself to and fro in his hopeless grief. It seemed too terrible to be real that his faithful old wife had been killed and cooked by the badger while he was working quietly in the fields, knowing nothing of what was going on at home, and congratulating himself on having once for all gotten rid of the wicked animal who had so often spoiled his fields. And oh, the horrible thought, he had very nearly drunk the soup with which the creature had made of his poor old woman. Oh, so at least he didn't angry.
Okay.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, he wailed aloud. Now, not far away, there lived in the same mountain a kind, good-natured old rabbit. He heard the old man crying and sobbing, and at once set out to see what was the matter, and if there was anything he could do to help his neighbor. The old man told him all that had happened. When the rabbit heard the story, he was very angry at the wicked and deceitful badger, and then turned to the soup and asked, "You gonna eat that?"
No,
That
rabbit.
didn't happen. The wicked deceitful badger, and told the old man to leave everything to him, and he would avenge his wife's death. The farmer was at last comforted, and, wiping away his tears, thanked the rabbit for his goodness in coming to him in his distress. The rabbit, seeing that the farmer was growing calmer, went back to his home to lay his plans for the punishment of the badger. The next day the weather was fine, and the rabbit went out to find the badger. He was not to be seen in the woods, or on the hillside, or in the fields anywhere, so the rabbit went to his den and found the badger hiding there, for the animal had been afraid to show himself ever since he had escaped from the farmer's house, for fear of the old man's wrath. The rabbit called out, "Why are you not out on such a beautiful day? Come out with me, and we will go and cut grass on the hills together." The badger, never doubting but that the rabbit was his friend, willingly consented to go out with him, only too glad to get away from the neighborhood of the farmer, and the fear of meeting him. The rabbit led the way miles away from their homes, out on the hills where the grass grew tall, thick, and sweet. They both set to work to cut down as much as they could carry home, to store it up for their winter's food. When they had each cut down all they'd wanted, they tied it in bundles, and then started homewards, each carrying his bundle of grass on his back. This time, the rabbit made the badger go first. When they had gone a little way, the rabbit took out a flint and steel, and, striking it over the badger's back as he stepped along in front, set his bundle of grass on fire. The badger heard the flint striking and asked, "What is that noise? Crack, crack." "Oh, that is nothing," replied the rabbit. "I only said crack, crack because this mountain is named the Crackly Mountain." "Rabbit, did you just make that shit up?" "Rabbit, I think you're lying to me right now." The fire soon spread in the bundle of dry grass on the badger's back. The badger, hearing the crackle of the burning grass, asked, "What is that?" "Now we have come to the burning mountain," answered the rabbit. By this time the bundle was nearly burned out, and all the hair had been burned off the badger's back. He now knew what had happened by the smell of the smoke of the burning grass.
I think I'm on fire.
Screaming with pain, the badger ran as fast as he could to his hole. The rabbit followed him and found him lying on his bed, groaning with pain. "What an unlucky fellow you are," said the rabbit. "I can't imagine how this happened. I will bring you some medicine, which will heal your back quickly." The rabbit went away glad and smiling to think that the punishment upon the badger had already begun. He hoped that the badger would die of his burns, for he
Wow.
felt nothing could be too bad for the animal, who was guilty of murdering a poor helpless old woman who had trusted
This is
him.
like the Punisher rabbit.
Yeah. He went home and made an ointment by mixing some sauce and red pepper together.
No, oh God.
He carried this to the badger, but before putting it on, told him that he would cause him great pain, but that he must bear it patiently, because it was a very wonderful medicine for burns and scalds and such wounds. The badger thanked him and begged him to apply it at once. But no language can describe the agony of the badger as soon as the red pepper had been pasted all over his sore back. He rolled over and over and howled loudly. The rabbit, looking on, felt that the farmer's wife was beginning to be avenged. The badger was in bed for about a month, but at last, in spite of the red pepper application, his burns healed, and he got well. When the rabbit saw that the badger was getting well, he thought of another plan by which he could compass the creature's death. So he went one day to pay the badger a visit and to congratulate him on his recovery. During the conversation, the rabbit mentioned that he was going fishing, and described how pleasant fishing was when the weather was fine and the sea smooth. The badger listened with pleasure to the rabbit's account of the way he passed his time now, and forgot all his pain and his month's illness, and thought what fun it would be if he could go fishing too. So he asked the rabbit if he would take him the next time he went out to fish. This was just what Rabbit wanted, so he agreed. Then he went home and built 2 boats, one of wood and the other of clay. At last they were both finished, And as the rabbit stood and looked at his work, he felt that all his trouble would be well rewarded if his plan succeeded, and he could manage to kill the wicked badger now. The day came when the rabbit had arranged to take the badger fishing. He kept the wooden boat himself and gave the badger the clay boat. The badger, who knew nothing about boats, was delighted with this new boat and thought how kind it was of the rabbit to give it to him. They both got into the boats and set out. After going some distance from the shore, the rabbit proposed that they should try their boats and see which one could go the quickest. The badger fell in with the proposal, and they both set out to work to row as fast as they could for some time. In the middle of the race, the badger found his boat going to pieces. The water now began to soften the clay. He cried out in great fear to the rabbit to help him, but the rabbit answered that he was avenging the old woman's murder, and that this had been his intention all along, and that he was happy to think that the badger had at last met his deserts for all his evil crimes, and was to be drowned with no one to help him. Then he raised his oar and struck the badger with all his strength, so he fell with the sinking clay boat and was seen no more. Thus, at last, he kept his promise to the old farmer. The rabbit now turned and rowed shorewards, and having landed and pulled his boat upon the beach, hurried back to tell the old farmer everything, and how the badger, his enemy, had been killed. The old farmer thanked him with tears in his eyes. He said that till now he could never sleep at night, or be at peace in the daytime, thinking of how his wife's death was unavenged. But from this time he would be able to sleep and eat as of old. He begged the rabbit to stay with him and share his home. So from this day the rabbit went to stay with the old farmer, and they both lived together as good friends to the end of their days.
Okay.
That was
a story.
Yeah, that just kind of happened. The Shinan Shah, or the South Pointing Carriage.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Keep reading about that South Pointing Carriage.
Yeah. You know it. The compass, with its needle always pointing to the north, is quite a common thing, and no one thinks it is remarkable now, though when it was first invented, it must have been a wonder. Now, long ago in China, there was still more wonderful invention called the Shinansha. This was a kind of chariot, with the figure of a man on it always pointing to the south. No matter how the chariot was placed, the figure always wheeled about and pointed south. This curious instrument was invented by Kotai, one of the 3 Chinese emperors of the mythological age. Kotai was the son of the Emperor Yuhi. Again, probably saying all of these names wrong. Before he was born, his mother had a vision which foretold that her son would be a great man. One summer evening, she went out to walk in the meadows to seek the cool breezes which blow at the end of the day, and to gaze with pleasure at the starlit heavens above her. As she looked at the North Star, strange to relate, it shot forth vivid flashes of lightning in every direction. Soon after this, her son Kotai came into the world. Kotai in time grew to manhood and succeeded his father, the Emperor Yuhi. His early reign was greatly troubled by the rebel Shiyu. This rebel wanted to make himself king, and many were the battles which he fought to this end. Shiyu was a wicked magician. His head was made of iron, and there was no man that could conquer him. At last Kotai declared war against the rebel and led his army to battle, and the 2 armies met on a plain called Takaroku. The emperor boldly attacked the enemy, but the magician brought down a dense fog upon the battlefield. While the royal army were wandering about in confusion, trying to find their way, she retreated with his troops, laughing at having fooled the royal army. No matter however strong and brave the emperor's soldiers were, the rebel, with his magic, could always escape in the end. Kotai returned to his palace and thought and pondered deeply as to how he should conquer the magician. He was determined not to give up yet. For a long time he invented the Shinansha, with the figure of a man always pointing south, for there were no compasses in those days. With this instrument to show him the way, he need not fear the dense fog raised up by the magician to confound his men. Kotai again declared war against Shiyu. He placed the Shinansha in front of his army and led the way to the battlefield. The battle began in earnest. The rebel was being driven backward by the royal troops when again he resorted to magic. And upon his saying some strange words in a loud voice, immediately a dense fog came down upon the battlefield. But this time no soldier minded the fog. Not one was confused. Kotai, by pointing to the Shinantra, could find his way and directed the army without a single mistake. He closely pursued the rebel army and drove them backward till they came to a big river. This river Kotai and his men found was swollen by the floods and impossible to cross. Shiyu, by using his magic art quickly, passed over with his army and shut himself up in a fortress on the opposite bank. When Kotai found his march checked, he was wild with disappointment, for he had very nearly overtaken the rebel when the river stopped him. He could do nothing, for there were no boats in those days, so the emperor ordered his tent to be pitched in the pleasantest spot that place afforded. One day he set forth from his tent, and after walking about for a short time, came to a pond. There he sat down on the bank and was lost in thought. It was autumn. The trees growing along the edge of the water were shedding their leaves, which floated hither and thither on the surface of the pond. By and by, Kotai's attention was attracted to a spider on the brink of the water. The little insect was trying to get on one of the floating leaves nearby it. It did so at last, and was soon floating over the water to the other side of the pond.
Is that what the story's about? Boats? I thought it was about a chariot. Okay.
It was about the chariot. It's about
boats now.
It's about Kotai.
Kotai!
The great inventor.
The great inventor. Okay.
This little incident made the clever emperor think that he might try to make something that could carry himself and his men over the river in the same way that the leaf carried over the spider. He set to work and persevered till he invented the first boat. And when he found that it was a success, he set all his men to make some more, and in time there were enough boats for the whole army. Kotai now took his army across the river and attacked Shiyu's headquarters. He gained a complete victory, and so put an end to the war which had troubled his country for so long. This wise and good emperor did not rest till he had secured peace and prosperity throughout his whole land. He was beloved by his subjects, who now enjoyed their happiness and peace for many long years under him. He spent a great deal of time in making inventions which would benefit his people, and he succeeded in many besides the boat and the self-pointing Shinancha. He had reigned about 100 years when one day, as Kotai was looking upwards, the sky became suddenly red, and something came glittering like gold toward the earth. As it came nearer, Kotai saw that it was a great dragon. The dragon approached and bowed down its head before the emperor. The empress and the courtiers were so frightened that they ran away screaming, but the emperor only smiled and called to them to stop and said,
You silly.
"Do not be afraid. This is a messenger from heaven. My time here is finished."
Oh, he's just coming forth to carry me home. I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Or not.
Then he mounted the dragon, which began to ascend toward the sky. When the empress and the courtiers saw this, they all cried out together, "Wait a moment, we wish to come too." And they all ran and caught hold of the dragon's beard and tried to mount him. But it was impossible for so many people to ride on the dragon.
This is just for me, guys.
Several of them hung on to the creature's beard, so that when it tried to mount, the hair was pulled out and they fell to the ground. Meanwhile, the empress and a few of the courtiers were safely seated on the dragon's back. The dragon flew up so high in the heavens that in a short time the inmates of the palace, who had been left behind disappointed, could see them no more. After some time, a bow and an arrow dropped to the earth in the courtyard of the palace. They were recognized as having belonged to the Emperor Kotai. Courtiers took them up carefully and preserved them as sacred relics in the palace.
What a strange man, that Kotai.
The
end. Was that like one of the ones where it's like, this isn't really a fairy tale, but I'm going to put it in?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because that one seemed more like a history type lesson than an actual fairy tale. I remember in Chickasaw mythology class, legends are the historical stories that aren't necessarily true, I think. I think that's good. There's legends, myths, and it's like folk tales. Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Folklore.
Yeah, I think folklore is the third category.
The Adventures of Kentaro, the Golden Boy.
The golden boy!
Long, long ago, there lived in Kyoto a brave soldier named Kentoki. Now he fell in love with a beautiful lady and married her. Not long after this, through the malice of some of his friends, he fell into disgrace at the court and was dismissed.
Wow.
This misfortune so preyed upon his mind that he did not long survive his dismissal.
Oh.
He died, leaving behind him his beautiful wife to face the world alone.
Wow, what a jerk.
Yeah, and that's his life.
Wow, no, who was the golden boy?
Fearing her husband's enemies, she fled to Ashigara Mountains as soon as her husband was dead. And there, in the lonely forest where no one ever came except woodcutters, the little boy was born to her.
She was pregnant when he got died.
Probably.
I guess either that or, yeah.
Either that or there's a slight misunderstanding of how conception works. Either way. She called him Kentaro, or the Golden Boy. Now, the remarkable thing about this
he was
child
made of gold.
was his great strength. And as he grew older, he grew stronger and stronger. So that by the time he was 8 years of age, he was able to cut down trees as quickly as the woodcutters. Then his mother gave him a large axe. He used to go out in the forest and help the woodcutters, who called him Wonder Child. And his mother, the old nurse of the mountains, for they did not know her high rank. Another favorite pastime of Kentaro's was to smash up rocks and stones.
This guy sounded a whole lot like Percival.
You can imagine how strong he was.
Look at these boys in the woods.
Not unlike other boys, Kentaro grew up all alone. Quite unlike other boys.
Not unlike other.
Yeah. Quite unlike other boys, Kentaro grew up all alone in the mountain wilds. And as he had no companions, he made friends with all the animals and learned to understand them and to speak their strange talk. By degrees, they all grew quite tame and looked upon Kentaro as their master, and he used them as his servants and messengers. But his special retainers were the bear, the deer, the monkey, and the hare. The bear often brought her cubs for Kentaro to romp with, and when she came to take them home, Kentaro would get on her back and have a ride to her cave. He was very fond of the deer, too, and would often put his arm around the creature's neck to show that its long horns did not frighten him. Great was the fun they all had together. One day, as usual, Kentaro went up into the mountains, followed by the bear, the deer, the monkey, and the hare. After walking for some time, uphill and down dale, over rough roads, they suddenly came upon a wide and grassy plain covered with pretty wildflowers. Here indeed was a nice place where they could all have a good romp together. The deer rubbed his horns against the tree for pleasure, the monkey scratched his back, the hare smoothed his long ears, and the bear gave a grunt of satisfaction. Kentaro said, "Here's a place for a good game. What do you all say to a wrestling match?" The bear, being the biggest and the oldest, answered for the others. "That will be great fun," said she.
Bear, not Papa Bear.
No, she's a bear. Bears have bear voices.
Okay.
I don't know, that will be great fun, said she. Is that right?
I mean, you kind of were doing the big gruff dude voice, so.
It's a bear. I don't know.
All right,
I don't know if bears have. I don't know if the pitch of voice in bears is
whatever. It's
sexual dimorphism.
I don't know.
That will be great fun, said she. I am the strongest animal, so I will make the platform for the wrestlers. And she set to work with a will to dig up the earth and to pat it into shape. All right, said Kentaro. I will look on while you all wrestle with each other. I shall give a prize to the one who wins in each round. What fun! We shall all try to get the prize, said the bear. The deer, the monkey, and the hare set to work to help the bear raise the platform on which they were all to wrestle. When this was finished, Kentaro cried out, "Now begin! The monkey and the hare shall open the sports, and the deer shall be the umpire. Now, Mr. Deer, you are to be the umpire." "Hee," answered the deer. "I will be the umpire. Now, Mr. Monkey and Mr. Hare, if you are both ready, please walk out and take your places on the platform." Then the monkey and the hare both hopped out, quickly and nimbly, to the wrestling platform. The deer, as umpire, stood between the two and called out, red back, this to the monkey, who has a red back in Japan. Are you ready? Then he turned to the hare. Long ears, long ears. Are you ready? Both little wrestlers faced each other, while the deer raised a leaf on high as signal. When he dropped the leaf, the monkey and the hare rushed upon each other, crying, Yuisho, Yuisho, Yuisho. While the monkey and the hare wrestled, the deer called out encouragingly or shouted warnings to each of them as the hare and the monkey pushed each other near the edge of the platform and were in danger of falling over. Red back, stand your ground, called out the deer. Long ears, be strong, be strong. Don't let the monkey beat you, grunted the bear. Oh, shit, that was the bear. Whatever. So the monkey and the hare, encouraged by their friends, tried their very hardest to beat each other. The hare at last gained on the monkey, and the monkey seemed to trip up, and the hare, giving him a good push, sent him flying off the platform with a bound. The poor monkey sat up rubbing his back, and his face was very long as he screamed angrily, Oh, how my back hurts! My back hurts me! Seeing the monkey in his plight on the ground, the deer holding his leaf on high said, This round is finished. The hare has won. Kentaro then opened his luncheon box and, taking out a rice dumpling, gave it to the hare, saying, Here is your prize, and you have earned it well. Now the monkey got up looking very cross, and as they say in Japan, his stomach stood up, for he felt that he had not been fairly beaten. So he said to Kentaro and the others who were standing by, I have not been fairly beaten. My foot slipped and I tumbled. Please give me another chance, and let the hare wrestle with me for another round. And Kentaro, consenting, the hare and the monkey began to wrestle again. Now, as everyone knows, the monkey is a cunning animal by nature, and he made up his mind to get the best of the hare this time if it was possible. To do this, he thought that the best and surest way would be to get hold of the hare's long ear. This he soon managed to do. The hare was quite thrown off his guard by the pain of having his long ear pulled so hard, and the monkey, seizing his opportunity at last, caught hold of one of the hare's legs and sent him sprawling in the middle of the dais. The monkey was now the victor, and received a rice dumpling from Kentaro, which pleased him so much that he quite forgot his sore back. The deer now came up and asked the hare if he felt ready for another round, and if so, whether he would try a round with him. And the hare consenting, they both stood up to wrestle. The bear came forward as umpire. The deer with long horns and the hare with long ears, it must have been an amusing sight to those who watched this queer match. Suddenly the deer went down on one of his knees, and the bear, with a leaf on high, declared him beaten. In this way, sometimes the one, sometimes the other, conquering the little party, amused themselves till they were tired. Last Kentaro got up and said, This is enough for today. What a nice place we have found for wrestling. Let us come again tomorrow. Now, we will all go home. Come along. So saying, Kentaro led the way home, while the other animals followed. After walking some little distance, they came out on the banks of a river flowing through the valley. Kentaro and his four furry friends stood and looked about for some means of crossing. Bridge there was none. The river rushed on its way. All the animals looked serious, wondering how they could cross the stream and get home that evening. Kentaro, however, said, Wait a moment. I will make a good bridge for you all in a few minutes. The bear, the deer, the monkey, and the hare looked at him to see what he would do now. Kentaro went from one tree to another that grew along the riverbank. At last he stopped in front of a very large tree that was growing at the water's edge. He took hold of the trunk and pulled it with all his might. Once, twice, thrice. At the third pull, so great was Kentaro's strength that the roots gave way, and Mary, crash, fell over fell the tree, forming an excellent bridge across the stream.
Alright, I just finished all of the touch-ups, so now I'm gonna start doing some watering, I think. I guess I'll go in order for the first couple of pages. Yeah, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. Alright. We are
Nearing up on 3 hours.
nearing up on 3 hours. I think probably at 5 would be a good time to stop. Well, at least the end of this. When after the story is over, we can stop there, I think. Swapping?
There, said Kintaro. What do you think of my bridge? It is quite safe, so follow me. And he stepped across first. The four animals followed. Never had they seen anyone so strong before, and they all exclaimed, "How strong he is! How strong he is!" While all this was going on by the river, the woodcutter, bless him, who happened to be standing on a rock overlooking the stream, had seen all that had passed beneath him. He watched with great surprise Kintaro and his animal companions. He rubbed his eyes to be sure that he was not dreaming when he saw this boy pull over a tree by the roots and throw it across the stream to form a bridge. The woodcutter, for such he seemed to be by his dress, marveled at all he saw, and said to himself, "This is no ordinary child. Whose son can he be? I will find out before this day is done." He hastened after the strange party and crossed the bridge behind him. Then Kintaro knew nothing of all this, and little guessed that he was being followed. On reaching the other side of the river, he and the animals separated. They to their lairs in the woods, and he to his mother, who was waiting for him. As soon as he entered the cottage, which stood like a matchbox in the heart of the pine woods, he went to greet his mother, saying, "Oka-san, mother, here I am." "Oh, Kimbo," said his mother with a bright smile, glad to see her boy home safe after the long day. "How late you are today. I feared that something had happened to you. Where have you been all this time?" "I took my four friends, the bear, the deer, the monkey, and the hare, up into the hills, and there I made them try a wrestling match to see which was the strongest. We all enjoyed the sport, and are going to the same place tomorrow to have another match." "Now tell me who is the strongest of all?"
Me!
asked his mother, pretending not to know. "Oh, mother," said Kintaro, "don't you know that I am the strongest?
Oh.
There is no need for me to wrestle with any of them." "But next to you, then,
What a dick.
who is the strongest?" "The bear comes next to me in strength," answered Kintaro. "And after the bear?" asked his mother again. "Next to the bear, it is not easy to say which is the strongest, for the deer, the monkey, and the hare all seem to be as strong as each other," said Kintaro. Suddenly, Kintaro and his mother were startled by a voice from outside. "Listen to me, little boy."
Listen to me, little boy.
"Next time you go, take this old man with you to the wrestling match. He would like to join the sport, too." It was the old woodcutter who had followed Kintaro from the river. He slipped off his clogs and entered the cottage. Yamauba and her son were both taken by surprise. I guess that's the mom's name.
Yamauba.
They looked at the intruder wonderingly and saw that he was someone they had never seen before. "Who are you?" they both exclaimed. And the woodcutter laughed and said, "It does not matter who I am yet, but let us see who has the strongest arm, this boy or myself." And Kintaro, who had lived all his life in the forest, answered the old man without any ceremony, saying, "We will have a try if you wish, but you must not be angry, whoever is beaten." And Kintaro and the woodcutter both put out their right arms and grasped each other's hands. For a long time, Kintaro and the old man wrestled together in this way, each trying to bend the other's arm. But the old man was very strong, and the strange pair were evenly matched. At last, the old man desisted, declaring it was a drawn game. "You are indeed a very strong child. There are few men who can boast of the strength of my right arm," said the woodcutter. "I saw you first on the banks of the river a few hours ago, when you pulled up that large tree to make a bridge across the torrent. Hardly able to believe what I saw, I followed you home. Your strength of arm, which I have just tried, proves what I saw this afternoon. When you are full grown, you will surely be the strongest man in all Japan. It is a pity that you are hidden away in these wild mountains." Then he turned to Kintaro's mother. "And you, mother, have you no thought of taking your child to the capital, and of teaching him to carry a sword as befits a samurai?" The Japanese knight. In case you didn't know that.
In case you do not know what a samurai is. I'm sure there's still people that do not know what samurais are.
It's possible.
It's likely.
Yeah, it's likely. Especially in 1908.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly.
"You are very kind. You take so much interest in my son," replied the mother. But he is, as you see, wild and uneducated, and I fear it would be very difficult to do as you say. Because of his great strength as an infant, I hid him away in this unknown part of the country, for he hurt everyone that came near him. I often wish that I could one day see my boy
He
a
hurt
knight
everyone that came near him.
wearing two swords. But
Two swords?
yeah,
Dang!
I want him to
It's Mary Sue.
just all the swords. Oh yeah, dual wielding style. It's a secret style. Hi, Mama. Yes, I know. You need to continue doing that.
I was thinking I wanted to give the ogre guy some kind of other font because I gave the mailman a different font. This guy's also got a font speech bubble. Maybe I'll just give him like blackface of the typeface that I'm using. See, I don't think he should have a drippy.
No.
He's just a booming. Yeah, he can. Heavy.
What's that? What was the one above it?
Like, all right. Keep reading. I feel like I could have a thicker sans. Maybe it's.
You can look for it.
That looks okay, I think. I think that looks okay. I don't want to look for a new font.
Okay. But as we have no influential friend to introduce us at the capital, I fear my hope will never come true. You need not trouble yourself about that. To tell you the truth, I am no woodcutter. I am one of the great generals of Japan. My name is Sadamitsu, and I am a vassal of the powerful lord Minamoto no Reiko. He ordered me to go round the country and look for boys who give promise of remarkable strength, so that they may be trained as soldiers for his army. I thought that I could best do this by assuming the disguise of a woodcutter. By great fortune, I have thus unexpectedly come across your son. Now, if you really wish him to be a samurai, that's all caps for some reason. I'm assuming because he yells it. Nice. I will take him and present him to the Lord Raiko as a candidate for his service. What do you say to this?
What say you?
As the kind general gradually unfolded his plan, the mother's heart was filled with a great joy. She saw that here was a wonderful chance of the one wish of her life being fulfilled, that of seeing Kentaro, a samurai, before she died. Bowing her head to the ground, she replied, I will then entrust my son to you, if you really mean what you say. Kentaro had all this time been sitting by his mother's side, listening to what they said. When his mother finished speaking, he exclaimed, Oh, joy, joy! I am to go with the general, and one day I shall be a samurai. Thus Kentaro's fate was settled, and the general decided to start for the capital at once, taking Kentaro with him. It need hardly be said that Yamaura was sad at parting with her boy, for he was all that was left to her. But she hid her grief with a strong face, as they say in Japan. She knew that it was for her boy's good that he should leave her now, and she must not discourage him, just as he was setting out. Kentaro promised never to forget her.
Does he die? Does she die immediately? Like Percival's mom? Anyway.
And said that as soon as he was a knight, wearing two swords, he would build her a home and take care of her in her old age. Maybe that's just what samurai did.
Oh, yeah, I guess because they got like a short sword and a long sword.
Yeah.
For various sort of needs and utilities.
He's not just
going to dual wield the swords.
I want my boy to have like a dozen swords.
I want him to summon swords out of sword space.
All the animals, those he had tamed to serve him, the bear, the deer, the monkey, and the hare, as soon as they found out that he was going away, came to ask if they might attend him as usual. When they learned that he was going away for good, they followed him to the foot of the mountain to see him off.
The only spell check thing that it popped up with was for Baskerville. It's like, do you mean Websterville? Like, no, I don't mean.
Yeah, Websterville. That's weird.
Somebody gonna have to be Webster on now. I don't know if it shows Photoshop, but I don't know if it like shows my mouse. I don't know if it like shows when I open up these windows and do the saving and stuff. So part of this is probably going to be a little bit boring. That's what I'm doing. I've got like this action box open over here, which I don't think you can see. No, you can't see it on the screen as far as I can tell, but I'm sizing all the stuff, and I just gotta save it as a TIFF first so that I can have it for printing later. It's all high res, and then later after that, I've got a set of actions so that I can size it just for web viewing, basically, just to the resolution needs to be uploaded, and then I do the thing where I stick the bar on it.
It's looking like windows and stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. That's probably fine. Let's see some. They still got your dulcet tones to listen to, so oh shit. I guess I'm gonna go save for web. Do that is can't see any of this. I got dialog boxes all up in here. When I close that out, all right.
Kimbo, said his mother.
Kimbo.
Mind and be a good boy.
No.
Mr. Kintara, said the faithful animals,
shoot.
We wish you good health on your travels. Then they all climbed a tree to see the last of him. And from that height they watched him and his shadow gradually grow smaller and smaller till he was lost to sight. The general, Sadamitsu, went on his way rejoicing at having so unexpectedly found such a prodigy as Kintaro. Having arrived at their destination, the general took Kintaro at once to his lord, Minamoto no Raiko, and told him all about Kintaro and how he found the child. Lord Raiko was delighted with the story, and having commanded Kintaro to be brought to him, made him one of his vassals at once. Lord Raiko's army was famous for its band called the Four Braves. These warriors were chosen by himself from amongst the bravest and strongest of his soldiers, and the small and well-picked band was distinguished throughout the whole of Japan for the dauntless courage of its men. When Kintaro grew up to be a man, his master made him the chief of the Four Braves. He was by far the strongest of them all. Soon after this event, news was brought to the city that a cannibal monster had taken up his abode not far away, and that people were stricken with fear. Lord Raiko ordered Kintaro to the rescue.
Kintaro to the rescue!
He immediately started off, delighted at the prospect of trying his sword. Surprising the monster in its den, he made short work of cutting off its great head, which he carried back in triumph to his master. Kintaro now rose to be the greatest hero of his country, and great was the power and honor and wealth that came to him. He now kept his promise and built a comfortable home for his old mother, who lived happily with him in the capital to the end of her days.
Oh, so it's not like Percival, where his mom dies immediately after he starts off on his adventure.
Is not this the story of a great hero?
Truly, it is a story of a great hero.
I was kind of hoping he would still get his animal friends. I was thinking that'd be one of those things where, like, he gets into a battle and it's very difficult, so his animal companions
are there to help him.
Yep.
Well, that, I guess, didn't happen. That's okay. All right. Well, wow, we're at 10 minutes to 5. Good timing. All right. I go call that good there. You got to see 3 full pages with their text on them early. Out of context, it will make all the sense. Or maybe I just did 2. Actually, I think it was just 2. Yeah. The end.
Yep, the end.
The end for today.
Next time we might pick up with more fairy tales or something else.
Or something else. We'll see. We'll do a. I think I'll do the cover page as a regular stream.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
That'll be a thing we can do later to finish up Arabian Nights, because I think we've only got we're almost done, right? Kind of.
Maybe
one more stream for that. We'll see.
I hope so.
But yeah.
You've been reading that book for so long.
Yeah, it's many poems, and I like it, but it's a little bit much some of the time.
As the poet once said,
your moon is like a face full of milk,
yep,
brimming.
milky moon face.
so beautiful. Yeah, so I guess let me know if this was a thing that you found enjoyable, dear Patreon viewers, or I guess later on when I make this a public video, random viewers. Let me know if this is if you like watching me do this process. I've been told that the cleaning up is fun to watch. I really don't understand that idea myself because it seems like the most boring thing in the world to me, but I'm told it's got a soothing effect, sort of. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know if you'd rather just see more colorings or whatever. All right, everybody, y'all out there, have a real pleasant rest of your day. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Taylor.
Oh, goodbye, Taylor.
No, you did it wrong. You jumped it up. Okay. All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye.